Hello, fellow homebrewers. JP here, and I want to introduce to you the brand new Brew Built X1 Conical Series available at More Beer. More Beer sells the highest standard in homebrewing equipment, and the Brew Built Conicals are just that. They're made from mirror-polished 304 stainless steel, and they come with loads of features that you and I have been looking for. They have a full 2-inch bottom dump valve, which will eliminate your clogging issues, while the sturdy base includes 4 reinforced legs, just like those big Pro tanks do. More Beer also carries the Brew Built line of options and add-ons like casters, pressure kits, and even external glycol chillers. So you can find out more about the new Brew Built X1 Conical Unitanks by going over to morebeer.com for detailed videos on the entire line of Brew Built Conicals. You can trust Brew Built with your next fermentation, and you can trust More Beer to find the right conical for you. Brew Built at morebeer.com.
Home brewers, craft brewers, beer lovers, beer drinkers.
Get ready for an all-new experience in information exchange and beer culture.
Your only source for live beer radio that brings expert brewers from around the globe
right to your home.
You're not just listening to broadcasters, it's the Brewcasters
on the Brewing Network.
It's week 5 already, John.
And we're still alive.
Still alive at the Brewing Network. Welcome once again to our 5th and not final week at the Brewing Network, if we have anything to say about it.
We're not going down easy.
Hey, welcome to the show, Dr. Scott.
Well, thanks. As I roll in here at the last second. Yes, you did. But I brought beer.
You brought beer, so all was forgiven. Dr. Scott walked in the room, and I'm like, okay, 40 seconds you got. Hook up the tap and sit your butt down.
Yeah. We have 2 kegs in here.
Also joining us in the studio today is Mr. Jamil. Let me get it right, Jamil. Don't tell me. I'm going to do this right.
No, you're not.
Yeah, I'm still looking for him. Mr. Jamil Zainashev.
Right.
Ah, there we go.
We have a winner.
Jamil is, now, I announced him a couple different ways throughout the week. He is either the most award-winning home brewer ever, or like up in the top 2. What's correct?
The most.
He's the most.
Yeah.
Jamil's the most award-winning.
Pretty consistent. Last time I checked.
So we're pretty much in the presence of homebrew royalty today with Jamil joining us in the studio.
He even brought some beer.
And that's awesome too. Lots of
beer.
We were
today.
hoping. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Let's see, what do we got? We got 2 kegs of beer. I got about a gallon left in my keg. And Jamil, how many beers did you bring today?
7.
7 beers from Jamil. So we're going to be totally sober at the end of the show today,
yes,
folks. I just want you to know. And it's going to be
like always. About the middle of the show, we won't be though.
Yeah, exactly.
Good conversation.
We stop at the end for those who have to drive home. Or about an hour after the end is actually the truth.
Don't drink and drive.
No. Okay, so Jamil, we're really happy to have you with us, and we're going to get all into Jamil's homebrew techniques and his history and what got you into it and how the heck you win so much a little bit later in the show, if that's cool with you.
Sounds great.
Okay. But in the meantime, we definitely need you to hang with us and help us out with a few discussions we're going to have. Today's official discussion is beer styles, and specifically the BJCP guidelines for those beer styles. There's 26 of them, is that right?
There's 23 beer categories.
23 beers, and then there's mead, and then there's cider, right? Yeah. Which adds another 6 categories or 5.
I believe, right.
So we're obviously not going to cover all those, but we're going to pick 4 that both John and Jamil have won in competition with, and we're going to talk about those in detail. And then we're just going to talk about the style guidelines in general and figure out why they're there and what people use them for. So that's
what it takes to win a contest with them.
Exactly.
Yes.
And Jamil can definitely help us out with that. We were talking just a bit before the show. We want to focus on how you can follow a style guideline
right.
and be completely rejected by the judges in that style.
But it could still be a good beer, though.
It could still, right.
Yeah.
So part of it is a bit arbitrary, and the other part is definitely a judge's personal opinion. But I think that Jamil's going to help us point out some specific things that you could do wrong, even though you're following the guidelines exactly.
Right.
So,
and we were just talking about how regions play a role into it too. So. Right. Wherever the judging's going on,
right.
East Coast versus West Coast. So.
Right, which is definitely, we've always talked about the hop difference between East and West, and that might affect it, and a few other things. So we're going to get to that about the middle of the show today. I'm going to warn everybody, in studio and at home, today's a long show. There's no way we're getting out of here before a 3-hour show. Dr. Scott, I hope you didn't tell anybody you're
No, I'm good.
early.
I can stay here till tomorrow if you want.
Because we got a lot of good stuff planned.
Yes, we do.
Right at the beginning of the show, after I get done with my ranting and raving, we're going to play the Brewing Network's first trivia game.
Yes.
And it's going to be a lot of fun. So,
what do we win?
Not a damn thing.
A pint of beer.
Yeah.
Another pint of beer.
But it's going to be a lot of fun. Although, I'm going to try to get a listener to play along. I'm going to get a listener on the phone and see if he can't play also. And if so, then the listener, should he win the game, he'll get a prize.
Yes.
If Jamil wins, we'll give him a prize too. If either of you two jokers win that are always here, you don't win anything.
We get to come back next week.
Yeah, we can return again.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So, there you go. But we're going to play that in just a few minutes. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think everyone's going to like it. I'm excited about it.
I'm curious.
So last week, let's talk about that just real quick. We featured a lecture by Vinny Cilurzo. I played that for about 3 days, too, throughout the week to get it out there. We had a good hop discussion.
Yeah.
Got a lot of good information out there, and then followed it up by a lecture from Vinny from the
Russian River.
From Russian River, but it was from the National Homebrew Conference competition in Baltimore a couple weeks ago. And it was an awesome lecture. Mm-hmm. I actually didn't get to listen to it before we aired it. John had. And I listened to it throughout the week. It's good.
Informative, huh?
Oh, excuse me.
Oh,
I'm already.
Yeah. Let it go. Let it go.
Doing that.
Yes.
Yeah, listen to it throughout the week. He had a lot to say and a lot of good questions from the audience. So it was good. We're going to put that up in the archive section. I want to say hello to, speaking of archive section, because these are the people we need to help out a lot. I want to say hello to our Australian friends out there right now who are always awesome to us right now. The Aussies are cool.
Yes.
I never know if they want me to call them Aussies or Aussies. They say Aussies, don't they? Okay. I think Aussies are Austrians. They might not like it that I do that.
I apologize.
I think they would think that Austrians are sissies. Yeah. So let me switch that to the Aussies. And we want to say, hey, what's up? You guys are always very cool to us. And
best feedback thus far.
So I guess sort of focus to you and others who really want the archives. Here's the latest update that we have. Potentially our website is going to be finished tomorrow. I'm supposed to go look at the finished product tonight, and John has seen it, although there were still some adjustments to be made. If all goes well tonight, like assuming that I'm not seeing double when I look at it, and assuming that it's all done to, you know, what was supposed to be done, we could have a real website up by tomorrow. And if we do, then all 5 shows, including this one, will be available for download by tomorrow.
People will love us for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
They won't be podcast available. I have not got that software to do it yet. I got to adjust. I got to make some tweaks on my computer to do it. But they will be MP3 downloadable, so you can download them just as MP3 files. You just can't put them over to your iPod. Although maybe you can convert it somehow on your own system. Whatever. Don't be lazy. You can figure it out, right? Okay. So we're going to put all the archives up there, and finally you're going to be able to download our shows. So that's the best update I can give you. If I'm wrong and the site's not up tomorrow, I apologize, but it's in the hands of other people, and we're doing all that we can. And
it's our third go around at this.
This is definitely our
7 months. So.
In 7 months of trying to get the Brewing Network going, it's our third go around of getting someone to get us a completed website, and we're hoping this one happens. So keep your fingers crossed. If it works out, yay to everybody. Yeah. Okay.
Are these people being paid in beer?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Beer supplies.
Which is part of the problem, right?
Right.
But the other thing if you don't pay them in beer, like the people who get paid to do it, you got to pay them in like a second mortgage on your house.
Yeah.
It's extremely expensive to get a website built. So we've had to just, drum up all the resources we can. All have been very nice and very good resources. It's just it's apparently a complicated thing to finish. And
we're poor.
And we're poor. So there you go. Hopefully it's up tomorrow. If so, yay.
Yeah.
If not, sorry. Hang in there for a couple days.
Next week.
Okay. Along with our style discussion, I just want to announce, as I announced last week, that it's American Beer Month. So I think that means you're supposed to celebrate and drink a lot. Yeah, cheers to that.
Yeah, with that 6-week American
exactly.
month.
The 6-week American month, which is bigger and better than the rest of the world, you can be sure, or supposedly. This week's official beer, there's a different one each week. This week's American Pale Ale. So,
hey, Doc, thanks.
There you go.
Sure.
You
brought it.
He did bring an American Pale? Oh, sweet.
Yes.
I'm drinking an India Pale Ale, so whatever. But what else is new?
Hophead.
Yeah. Okay, so there you go. Celebrate your American Pale. Maybe you want to brew one this week. I'm actually going to brew, I think, Tuesday, John. I haven't brewed in a few weeks. So
You have empty fermenter, I take it.
I do, and I'm going to...
Good.
I think I'm going to go ahead and brew an American Pale Ale. Why not?
Why not?
It'd be fun. Okay, last thing I want to discuss.
Let's discuss it.
I want to discuss some forums out there, guys.
We love forums.
I think that forums in the beer world, I think in the digital world in general, forums are an interesting creature because they allow people to be somebody that they're not normally in real life, right?
Right.
In a forum, you can say all the things you want to say. You can be as confrontational as you want. You could pretty much be as arrogant. You can do whatever you want. No one sees your face. It's easy to be a big man behind your computer or big woman, whatever.
Can't get your lights punched out. over the
Exactly. So not everybody abuses this quality, but certainly some people do. I heard a story yesterday on the radio about a band who has a fan in Australia, actually. And this fan, on all the discussion boards, and actually makes phone calls and everything to the band's label. It's a small label and a small band. And he just yells at the label all the time, why isn't this band the biggest band in Australia yet? Why aren't you playing them on the radio? Why? And he yells at everybody he can yell at. Well, they did a tour in Australia, and they met the kid at one of their shows. And he's like 4'0".
Oh my
he's
gosh.
like 38 pounds. I think he's 15 years old. And they just expected it to be this like big punk guy. It's a punk band, I guess I should mention, and it wasn't. So just as an example of what you might think of somebody in a forum or in a digital world and what you actually find.
Yeah.
Okay. Some forums, and I'm not going to name any names, have deleted our posts from their forum. And it's been for various reasons, but mostly has to do with competition.
Yeah.
And it appears that other forums and other, I don't know, even companies sometimes don't like competition.
Right.
And I'm a little bit bothered by it because everybody you talk to in homebrew and in craft brew, they all talk about the community and the family and the camaraderie that's in brewing. But then as soon as capitalism sort of peeks its ugly head in there, all of a sudden nobody's friends anymore. Yeah. And they don't want to help each other out, and they don't want to promote the other guy.
Yeah.
I mean, God forbid anybody's toes get stepped on, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, we're here to help grow the community, so I mean...
Which is what we're trying to do. So anybody who's removed us from their forum, we've actually gone back and apologized and said, we didn't mean any harm. We weren't trying to step on anybody's toes. We're just trying to advertise something new for the brew community.
Well, we were hoping to have them, grow their community with us. I mean,
exactly.
Just want to branch out with them.
Yes. And just certain posters who have like over 6,000 posts a month or some ridiculous thing.
And you know who you are.
And, well, not even, I know there's a few of them, and I'm just saying, and not all of them, it's not bad, but they definitely have an ownership quality when it comes to forums and get very offended easily.
Right.
When you step into their territory with something new. And that's okay, I don't want to trample on that. I just want to say that it is a community. And if everybody in the community is going to talk about community, then don't be such a hypocrite.
Yeah. Don't forget it's about beer.
It's about beer. And I'm not trying to take anybody's listeners or money or anything else, right? Mm-hmm. We're just trying to add something new and hopefully become a part of a growing community. Because it is going to grow, and there's nothing you can do about that, except for promoting.
Still very small, too,
So, just don't be so stingy. And in particular, like, some people think that we maybe scheduled our show, like, just to step on other schedules. And it's just not true. We actually tried to find the best possible a time of day that could reach the most amount of people that could sit in front of a computer for 2.5 hours. That time happens to be Sunday from 5 to 7.
Yeah.
So
plus we work too, so we got to work around our schedules. So
yeah. I definitely apologize if that takes away from any other homebrew community that's out there. I don't mean to do it, but we're just trying. Maybe in the future the show's going to move times anyway. But for now, it's what it is. And I just want to say that I definitely feel like I'm a part of the community, and I think that the Brewing Network is trying to grow the community. And if anyone wants to advertise with us or post on our forum about other things happening,
go for it.
I'm not going to erase it. Yeah. It's all part of the same community.
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, I always want to cuss, and then I feel like I can't do it.
You can't do it. This isn't your old radio station.
If you're a big jerk and you want to post just a bunch of mean things that nobody really wants to hear, then of course it's going to get deleted. But be respectful and promote whatever you want. I don't care, right? It's all part of the community.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents about forums. I don't know how many of you out there actually
I feel better
participate
that you
in
said
them.
that. So
I just started participating in it myself, so I'm sort of learning as I go. I thought they would be a sort of a zero politics kind of thing because of how free they are, and
I thought that when I got into it 2 months ago.
They're not zero
not
politics.
At all. Yeah, I stay away from them as much as I can.
We've actually gotten applications from people in our forum
Job at?
to do to be moderators.
Oh, cool.
But I don't know that we're going to have a moderator.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I'm not sure I understand yet what the and by understand I mean I'm not sure I agree with the understanding of what a moderator is yet. I think it's common sense for one of us who works in the forum to take out a post that's retarded.
Right.
And the rest kind of doesn't need to be moderated. I think you guys can be civil to each other, and I think you can keep the topics, where they're supposed to be, and have a good forum. Well, what do you think about that, Joe? Because that's just my opinion. I'm not speaking for the Brewing Network.
Well, I know Jamil moderates the B3 forum.
Okay. And what is the, because I do want to understand, what is the function then, say for you as a moderator in the B3 forum, Jamil?
Well, you're going to find a number of people that they won't respect what you're trying to do, and you're trying to have something open and free and let them, do whatever they can.
Yeah.
The problem is there's a certain number of people, like you're saying, that no matter what, they're going to try and force their way on things, and
right.
They become super political, or they try and pick fights. There's a number of people that try and pick fights, or want to get links to their porn sites, things like that.
Okay.
You just have to have, if you have thousands of posts happening a day,
yeah,
you have to have enough people that can go through them, make sure that somebody checks each post, and just make sure it doesn't get totally out of hand.
Okay.
On the B3 forum, we let a lot of stuff go, and it's fine as long as somebody's not out and out offensive.
Right. Then you just kind of let it go.
Yeah.
Okay, now that makes sense to me, especially if you're posting things that have nothing to do with beer, porn sites, whatever else you want. Obviously, you got to get those out of there. And I don't necessarily want people in there picking fights for no reason. That would make sense to moderate. All right. I guess I'm just not sure I need to get a moderator quite yet to do that. I think so
it's
far.
Still young. So.
I think our forum has actually been very, I don't know if I should say tame or just normal, respectful so far. I've not seen a lot of bickering going on. There's definitely a few comments, but humans are passionate and definitely opinionated people, and I don't mind those things getting out there, and I like disagreeing opinions. Yeah. So maybe if it gets out of hand, I definitely should take some advice from Jamil then and get some things out of there, get somebody in it to do it. For now,
until it happens, we'll address the issue.
I think we're doing all right. So I guess I mostly brought that up just because if you are sending in an application to be a moderator, I'm not ignoring you. I just haven't. I don't know if we have the need, and I haven't decided if we're going to put a moderator in there. So hang in there, and I'll post something about it. How about that?
Thank you.
Okay. You feel better, John?
I feel better.
All right.
Wait, hold on here.
Have a beer. All right. Hey, it's 4th of July weekend. Appreciate you guys hanging out, and listeners.
Flip those burgers. They're burning.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And don't light off fireworks where they're illegal, unless you can't be caught. Then you go right ahead. All right. You guys ready to play a little game? Let's get right into the action today. I'll explain it for you guys. Yeah. Let me say this before I start the description. I want to get a listener in on the game. And the listener, if you win, you're going to get, actually, no matter what, you're going to get a T-shirt. How about that?
Perfect.
You get a T-shirt. Just for playing the game. And you're going to hang out on the phone, and you're going to answer the questions just like everybody else.
It'll be a 4-way.
It'll be a 4-way. Okay. That's what I'm hoping for. The game is it's a beer trivia game, and it's sort of in the style of Jeopardy, but you don't have to answer in question form or anything like that. There's no daily double. But there's categories, and the categories, which I'll list in a minute, you basically just choose, and then you have 5 questions under each one, ranging in points from 100 to 500 points. I tried to arrange them so that 500 is the most difficult and 100 is the easiest. However, it's hard to establish what you guys know and what you don't. What's difficult to one person is easy to the other. So I got a bad feeling that Jamil might clean up on this one, because a lot of it's going to have to do with styles. There's a whole category going in there.
I'm going to give him a run.
But we're hoping to get a little friendly competition going in here.
Let's go.
If you want to play as a listener, I'm going to explain the game. The number is 1-888-401-BEER. So go ahead and call in. We'll put you on the air, and you got to hang out. The game's probably going to last 45 minutes, so going to need your phone line clear. It's 888-401-BEER. It's going to be a good time, and you're going to win a shirt, at least, and then maybe even something else. All right. So here's what's going to happen. You guys are each going to have a noise-making device, which, John, I need you to distribute now. One of you is actually going to use an empty beer glass, though.
There's no noise in that, except for the patter of your tears.
It's very, very true. Then you can just weep when you're ringing your buzzer. The point of these noise-making devices is because we don't have we don't have buzzers, and we got to know who's coming in first. So the lovely Daniela, who's back with us this week, by the way, she's in the chat room. Thank you for coming back with us today, Daniela. She's been missing for 2 weeks. She's going to help me judge too who rang their bell first. So try to be fair, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So you guys are going to ring in. And then you go ahead and you're going to pick a category and you're going to pick which number you want. The one with the most points at the end wins the game. If there's a tie, I'll have a tiebreaker question. It's pretty straightforward.
You can drink the pint the fastest.
Yeah.
No.
So, phone's ringing now, so maybe we got a player here. I'm going to go ahead and discuss the categories. There are 4 categories. And you need to decide, just based on what they say, whether or not you want to play the category. They may not be exactly what they sound like. The 4 categories are, you've got style, man. Hey, that's not beer. To beer or not to beer. And of course, what beer game would be complete without let's go to the hop as the 4th category?
Yeah.
Have we got a listener on the line there? Okay. Let's see.
Hold.
Go ahead. Oh, ouch. Hello there.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Who are we talking to?
Justin, this is Matt from Doe's.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. What are you drinking, Matt?
I'm drinking an IPA. I'm at a poker game with a bunch of friends and drinking an IPA I made last month.
Awesome.
Cool.
That's
Are
great.
you sitting in the air conditioning, Matt?
No, well, we got a couple of fans running, but there's no air conditioning, unfortunately. It's a little warm.
All right. I guarantee it's cooler than in
That's
here, right,
great.
Dr. Scott?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you got some time then in the middle of your poker game to play, or
Yeah,
what?
no, we just took a break to eat some dinner and turned on the internet radio show, and I'm ready to play the game.
All right, cool. Did you win the poker game, or are you guys in the middle?
I've won a couple of hands. We're not done. We'll
means
be
it- that means
playing
it's
well
down.
into the evening.
Yeah. Doesn't sound too good.
And what's the pot?
Oh, we play small potatoes, you know.
So, it's not
Usually
like
never
tournament
gets over
style.
a couple $100.
A couple of $100.
Wow.
Right.
How come I wasn't?
I'm being facetious. It's really small.
How come I wasn't invited, Matt?
Next time, buddy.
All right.
Well, you got a show to run. What the hell?
Hey, some things are more important. I'm broke.
Bring the game over. Bring the game over here.
Yeah,
There you go.
Okay, here's what you're going to do as a buzzer. You're going to have to push your phone button. Like just
All right.
any button, so that it beeps.
A number.
Yeah.
Any
Just
button.
not the hang-up button, I hope.
Right.
But any of those numbers, and that's going to be your buzzer.
I like 2.
All right.
Push 2.
Yeah. You guys want to try out your buzzers here in the studio just so I know what they sound like? Oh, all right. Yours is good. That's Jamil's buzzer. That's Dr. Scott. And John's got the clap.
Not really, but
But what's his buzzer?
Exactly. Okay. Let me read the categories one more time in case you didn't catch them, Matt. There are 4 categories. The categories are: first, you've got style, man. Second, hey, that's not beer. Third, to beer or not to beer. And then finally, 4th, let's go to the hop.
let's go to the hop.
Okay. Those are your 4 categories. Each one ranges from there's 5 questions in each one. They range from 100 to 500. 500 supposedly being the most difficult.
Let's do it.
You got me?
Gotcha.
All right. Everybody's ready? I'm going to start off the categories because it's just the only fair thing to do. You guys are going to buzz in if you know the answer to the question. Daniela, please help me decide who buzzes in first, and you guys be fair to each other as well. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to start with an easy one just to get things rolling. How about that? We're going to start with to beer or not to beer. Okay? Now, what this category has to do with is certain legal, it has to do with laws in different states across the country. All right? The question is, in this U.S. state, you are allowed to drink and drive as long as you're outside city limits and don't I think that Matt came in first. Clappy.
Texas.
Texas is...
What is Texas?
Texas is actually not correct. Okay, John was the second to ring in. John.
Montana.
Montana is correct. You are actually allowed to drink and drive as long as you're outside the city limits and don't blow over a .08 or above.
I think that just happened like 2 months ago, too.
Is that right?
3 months ago.
Okay, so there you go.
Does John
So,
have personal experience?
yeah, John, have you been drinking and driving in Montana?
I can't say.
All right, that's 100 points for John. He leads the game, and he gets to choose the next category. Go ahead, please, John.
You've got style, man, for 100.
For 100, he chooses You've Got Style. This is for everybody. The question is, the Kolsch style of lager is a protected... Whoa. Jamil.
It has to be brewed in Cologne.
That is correct.
Oh, man.
Wow. Did you cheat? The question was going to be, this Kolsch lager is a protected appellation and is restricted to the 20 or so breweries in and around what city and country? Cologne.
Just beat me on that one.
Yes.
Damn.
Okay. Are you saying Cologne, Germany?
Yes.
Yes.
Cologne.
Okay. Because I actually thought it was Cologne, France.
Nope, Germany.
No. Okay. Then it's Cologne, Germany. Damn BJCP guidelines. Typos. Jamil gets 100 points. Go ahead, Jamil. You get to pick the next category.
You got Style Man for 200.
Staying with styles for 200. The question is, this beer is a specialty of Bamberg, Germany. Jamil.
Rauch beer.
That's right. Classic Rauch beer. It's a specialty of Bamberg, Germany. Smooth lager character and no significant astringency or phenolic harshness.
All right, come back.
John and Dr. Scott right now tied Jamil up,
I
throw him
don't.
in the bathroom, and lock him.
I think they can't wait for this category to be cleared.
Yeah.
Jamil, you get to pick once again.
You got Style Man for 300.
300 he goes for.
He's quick.
All right.
Yes.
First brewed in 1842, this style was the original clear... Daniela?
I would say over there.
Oh, that's...
I hate
Pilsner or Quell?
We're looking for all styles here, actually. Pilsner Corel is incorrect. First brewed, it's open again. First brewed in go ahead.
Czech Pils.
Incorrect. First brewed in 1842, this style was the original clear, light-colored beer. And this is directly off of the BJCP guidelines.
Bohemian Pils.
Munich Helles?
You're all incorrect.
What's Czech Pils?
Don't make me come over this kind of...
Dortmunder Export is actually the one. First brewed in 1842. According to the BJCP guidelines, they say it was the original
The first
clear, light-colored beer.
Light-colored beer was Czech Pils.
Yeah.
Or they called Bohemian Pils.
You're going to have to take it up with the BJCP.
We will.
So that's 0 points.
That's 0 points. The game remains where it is, and it falls back to Jamil to be able to pick the category.
You got Style Man for 400.
You got
Ready to take 500.
Yeah.
Now remember, guys, in future categories, you don't have to go in order. You could pick the 500 if you want. Good. Okay. This style is a high-gravity beer, originally brewed for tropical markets. I'm going with the tambourine.
India Pale Ale.
Incorrect.
Get out.
Jamil.
Guinness Foreign Extra Stout.
I will accept it. Foreign Extra Stout is the style. Correct, Jamil. It's originally brewed for tropical markets. It can be fruity and sweet or dry and bitter. Has a moderate to high roasted grain and malt character. So there you go. It's a good effort, though, Dr. Scott. Are you getting all these scores down there, Daniela?
Yeah, she's...
Okay, Jamil.
Finish the category.
Finishing the category, you've got style for 500. Hey, Matt, are you still there, or did you go back to poker?
I've been buzzing in. I don't know if Daniela can hear me or not.
No, I got your buzzes. They're just coming late.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
All right.
I guess I got to buzz in extra early.
Yeah.
All right,
Well,
what's
Jamil's...
the next question. Start reading it.
The problem is that Jamil's...
Okay, I got the answer.
Problem is Jamil's buzzing in like before I finish the first word,
No, I
so
know.
it's definitely... Okay. Brewed in and around Brussels, this ale is a centuries-old tradition. It's a mix of 3 ales and is served effervescent. Dr. Scott.
Lambic. Geese.
Incorrect. Your second answer...
Yeah.
But your first answer was lambic. Daniela, do we want to give it to Dr. Scott? No. Okay, but now the answer's been given away.
Yeah.
Hear it. Man.
Give it to Dr. Scott.
I would've given it to him.
We'll give it to Dr.
It's
Scott.
along the lines
All
of
right,
a
he
lamb.
knew it.
It is a geese. Is that how you say it? Because I didn't even know how
I've
you
heard
say
it said a lot of goose, geese.
Geese. I think that effervescent would have been your clue if you got to there, because a lambic is more flat than a geese being effervescent, according to the guidelines anyway. A good one is not too pungent, but has a full bouquet and a soft flavor. That's 500 points right there, Dr. Scott. Okay, and you now have control of the board.
All right, let's go to... Hey, that's not beer for 300.
Okay, for 300 he's going for. Skipping right over the 200. Here's all you have to do. It's either a real beer or it's a made-up beer. That's the answer. Okay?
Okay. Go for it.
Matt, don't breathe in the phone.
Hang on, I took it from the wrong category.
Okay.
You said, hey, that's not beer, right?
Hey, that's not beer.
Jumping Cow Amber Ale. Jumping Cow Amber Ale. Jamil.
That's not beer.
That is not correct. It actually is a beer from the Steinhaus Brewery in New Ulm, Minnesota. It's Jumping Cow Amber Ale. Anybody from
You can
Minnesota?
name any beer or anything, so...
If anyone out there's from Minnesota, then they can go ahead and call in and confirm that for me.
Minnesota.
I did check these and find them. Dr. Scott, you still have control of the board.
Let's go with... Hey, that's not beer, man, for $500.
For $500.
Wow, aggressive.
All right, you ready, Matt? Here we go.
I'm ready.
Frog Island Croak and Stagger. Dr. Scott.
No, that's not a beer.
That is a beer. It's brewed in Michigan. Frog Island Brewing Company. The beer is called Croak and Stagger. That's awesome. I love these names.
Yeah. Poker, you suck at beer trivia.
I think Matt's friends are making fun of him back there.
They are. I'm getting some heat over here.
You do still have control of the board, Dr. Scott.
Let's see. What do we got left over here? Let's go to the hop for 300.
Okay, the category is let's go to the hop. Okay. The popular Red Hook ESB, uses only 2 hop varieties to produce its unique flavor. What are they?
Matt's buzzing in.
Matt, did you buzz in?
Several times.
I don't think your buzzer's not working.
I'm just going to say my name then.
Oh yeah, do that.
On.
I'm sorry. Maybe you buzzed in before and I didn't even hear because I didn't hear it. Go ahead, Matt. It's to you.
All right, I'm guessing Chinook and Cascade.
That's not correct. The board's still open. Buzz in, anybody. Okay.
Northern Brewer.
John buzzed in. Go ahead.
Centennial and Magnum?
Incorrect.
Northern Brewer and...
It's incorrect anyway. It's all right.
I go Kent Goldings and...
You're all right. It's incorrect anyway. The answer is Willamette and Tettnang. Willamette and Tettnang in their Red Hook ESB. How about that, huh?
Yeah.
A real popular beer with all of us, clearly.
Yeah. I love that beer. I had a keg a couple weeks ago. It's good.
I just wonder how they get all that diacetyl in.
Matt,
that beer turned me on to craft brews. I mean, I don't drink it now, but back in the day, that was the beer that converted me from, Mega Swill to craft brews.
I got to agree that I didn't go from Mega Swill, but I went from Sierra Nevada to Red Hook and then got into more original beers.
I've drank my share of that beer too.
Okay. Well, it's a tough, those aren't like really ESB, normally anyway, those aren't ESB hops right there. The Kent is more along the line. So, it was a tough guess. Tough question. Gotta make them hard though, Yeah. Matt, I'm gonna give you control of the board because maybe you got gypped a couple times in your buzzer. So go ahead and pick.
Well, to be honest, I didn't have the right answer pretty much for all of them. But run the options past me again. The categories.
You've got hey, that's not beer, man. To beer or not to beer, and let's go to the hop.
All right, to beer or not to beer for 100.
For 100's gone. 200 through 500 are left.
All right, 200.
200 it is. Okay. This U.S. state requires that alcohol may not be sold in stores after 9 p.m. and not at all on Sundays and holidays.
Matt.
Dr. Scott. He rang in just before you, Matt. Oregon is incorrect. Matt, go ahead.
Utah.
Incorrect.
Oh.
2 guys left to answer. Can't be sold after 9 and not at all on Sundays and holidays.
That's a lame state.
Which is when you really want it.
You live there.
Missouri.
Missouri's incorrect. John, you want to take a stab?
Nevada.
Connecticut.
No.
Connecticut is actually the state.
Oh, really?
And you're all right. It is a miserable state. I was born there and moved out when I was 3 because I couldn't drink after 9.
Or even on your
I would
birthday.
have thought it was a southern state.
Yeah, no, I thought that there might be some Utah guesses in there for that.
Oregon is bad too.
Is it?
So can't do it on Sunday.
Oh,
and my
okay.
friends have said if you want mimosas on Sunday morning, you better get your fixins the night before.
Well, Connecticut did the liquor store thing after 9 because or it used to be after 8 even. Liquor stores were getting robbed all the time between 8 and midnight.
Wow.
So they passed a law that they had to close at 8. It's sort of the liquor stores actually decided. They said we're all gonna as a community close at 8, and then it just stuck. The Sundays and holidays thing it's old school Protestants that settled our country.
Okay.
Stuck to that. So
Thanks.
Matt, you still have control of the board. It's hey, that's not beer, to beer or not to beer, or let's go to the hop.
That's not Beer Man for 400.
Okay. Hey, that's not Beer Man for 400. The beer is Old Leg Humper. Dr. Scott.
No, that's not a beer.
That actually is a beer. It's brewed by Thirsty Dog Brewery in Centerville, Ohio. Old Leg Humper.
Yeah.
Jamil, did you know that was a beer?
I knew that one. Yeah.
That's a tough category.
That's
I like
awesome.
that one. Matt, you still have control of the board.
Are you guys looking at a board with all the categories on it?
Yeah,
No,
they are. They're getting cheated. It's hey, that's not beer, man. To beer or not to beer, or let's go to the hop.
Because the You've Got Style Man is all gone. Jamil
All right,
killed that one.
What are the options on Let's Go to the Hop?
You have 100, 200, 400, and 500.
All right, let's go to the Hop for 100.
Okay.
Alex.
Thank you. The Noble Saaz hops are all that are used in this original European Pils. That's Jamil.
Ooh.
Pilsner Quell.
That's correct.
Wow.
100 points for
I
Jamil.
should have gone higher.
And that gives Jamil control of the board. Go ahead, please.
Let's go to the hop for 500.
Okay, he's going right for the big one. He wants to take a big lead here, guys.
He's all in.
You're going to have to stop it. Okay. This pale ale produced in Utica, New York features Willamette as its bittering hop and Kent Goldings for a nice flowery aroma. Yeah, none of you are going to get this. Matt, go ahead.
Bells.
Incorrect.
From Connecticut?
No, it's from New York. It's brewed in Utica, New York. Features Willamette as its bittering hop and Kent Goldings.
Can you do a Google search real quick,
nice
Danielle?
aroma. Daniela may not assist
Okay.
the players.
Okay.
Okay. I think everyone's going to draw a blank on this one. I was hoping to get an East Coaster on the phone. Not that there's anything against you, Matt. You're awesome, too. Saranac Pale Ale. Saranac is actually a pretty big brewery in New York. They brew about 6 different styles.
I just drank their lager the other day.
There you go. Okay, so good. I don't feel
You
like the
should've known
question
that.
was
Should've
that's
known
why that one was for 500.
You're
That
out
was
of
a
here.
prize, too.
I couldn't do all West Coast beers, guys. It
Yeah.
just wouldn't be fair. Okay, Jamil, you still have control of the board.
2 and 4. So.
What else we got left in Let's Go to the Hop?
You have 200 and 400 on Let's Go to the Hop.
Well, let's go for 400.
400. Still looking for a bigger lead. This tasty California-made IPA boasts that it uses 43 different hops in its production.
Matt.
That was you first.
Lagunitas IPA.
You are correct. Lagunitas IPA. Nice work, Matt. That's right. Its website says that they use 43 hops in its production of that IPA, which I would not have guessed. That's 400 points for you, Matt. Nice work.
Yay.
And that gives you control of the board. Hey, that's not beer, man. To beer or not to beer. And there's only 200 left in Let's Go to the Hop.
Hey, that's not Beer Man for
You got
300.
one. Okay, there you go. Only 100 is left in that category.
Oh, okay.
No,
I'll
you
take that.
got yours.
What's up?
No, he thought he only had 100 left. But
Oh, no, just in that category.
The 300 was left.
Yeah,
Okay.
300's left. You got that. Okay. Under hey, that's not beer, man. The beer is Bottom of the Hill Hopscotch Ale. That's Jamil, I think.
No, it's not a real beer.
Correct. That is a fake one. There is no Hopscotch Ale.
Hopscotch.
Although there should be.
Hoppy Scotch Ale. Sounds good, huh, Jim?
Jamil, that gives you control of the board.
Hey, that's not beer for 100.
Okay, that's going to clear out the hey, that's not beer category. Six Rivers Money Shot Pale.
Matt.
Dr. Scott rang in first.
yes, that's a beer.
That's actually a fake one. Come on, they're not going to name a beer Money Shot.
Money Shot.
That's not a bad idea.
That was my favorite one. I couldn't wait to get to that one. And I had to keep a straight face for the old Six Rivers Money Shot Pale. I actually own the film. Okay.
If there was a Money Shot Pale Ale, that's a beer I would pass on drinking every time.
Absolutely. Okay, who had control of the board there? You did, didn't you? Matt, it's back to you still.
I thought Jamil. No.
Did you?
okay.
No, it was Matt. He won the IPA question.
Right.
Go ahead. You have to beer or not to beer, 300 through 500, and 200s left, and let's go to the hop.
Let's go to the hop for 200.
Okay. Here we go, guys. This best-selling Pacific Northwest commercially brewed pale ale features an unmistakable Cascade aroma in its finishing hop. I'm going to have to give it to Dr. Scott.
Ooh, Sierra Nevada.
That's correct. Sierra Nevada Pale Ale uses Cascade as a finisher.
Yeah.
I
Come
wouldn't
on.
have called that
Northern
a Pacific
California.
Northwest beer, but okay.
No? Aren't we all Pacific Northwest up here?
Close enough.
If you'd said California, then I would have guessed that, but oh well.
All right.
Well, we can't give you everything.
Okay, Dr.
so
Scott, there's one category left, and you have control of the board. To beer or not to beer?
Okay, let's go beer to beer, not to beer for 500.
For 500, he's going for the big one. Does he have any chance of coming back, Daniela?
No.
Okay.
All right, then.
Okay, this Western European country has classified its beer into 3 categories based on alcohol percentage by volume. Go ahead, Dr. Scott.
Scotland.
Incorrect. And prior to its entrance into the European Union, could not sell beer above 5.6% alcohol by
Matt.
volume. Matt, go ahead.
Italy.
Incorrect. Good guesses, good guesses.
Finland? I don't know.
Any guys want to take a guess?
Can you repeat the question?
This Western European country has classified its beer into 3 categories based on alcohol percentage by volume. And prior to its entrance into the European Union, could not sell beer above 5.6%. Daniela knows the answer.
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, Daniela.
Sweden?
That is correct, Sweden. And I did
Never
not
would
give that
guess
to her. She's from Europe.
I like the way she says that, too.
Say it again, Daniela.
Sweden?
Very nice. You get 2,000 points, Daniela.
Yeah. She beat Jamil.
Dr. Scott, it's to beer or not to beer for 300 or 400?
Let's go 400 since I can't win anymore.
400. In this eastern U.S. state, the max amount of alcohol in beer that can be sold is 6%. The law is now being contested by the Pop the Cap bill.
Matt.
Go ahead, Matt.
Louisiana.
Incorrect. Go ahead, Jamil.
Florida?
Incorrect. It is on the coast, I'll tell you that. Eastern U.S. state. Can't be sold above 6%. Pop the Cap bill. Trying to fight it. Go
Poppy's
ahead.
Cap.
Take a guess, John.
New York?
Incorrect. Dr. Scott, you're the only one who didn't take a stab.
Massachusetts.
North Carolina is actually the state. North Carolina. There are a few states, I believe there's 6 states altogether that have alcohol restrictions. I try to be more specific. They're the one with a specific 6% and with a bill trying to fight it right now.
Like you needed another reason to not live in the eastern, southeastern United States than beer restrictions.
Exactly. It's a terrible idea.
One more nail in the coffin.
All right, there is one left, Dr. Scott, and that's the one you're picking. To beer or not to beer is the last of the categories. The question is, in this U.S. state, the sale of stale beer is prohibited. It's actually a law that you cannot sell stale beer in this U.S. state.
So there's no Coors
I wonder
there.
how they figured that one out.
I think they would go and arrest the breweries or something. I don't know. But it's definitely a law. You're not allowed to sell stale beer. Take a stab.
Texas.
Not Texas.
California.
Not California.
Get out of here.
Come on. You ever been to Beverages and More, John?
Well, rule them out as a sponsor, Justin.
How about this? I'll make it easy. Go farther west than California.
Hawaii.
There you go. Matt gets 300 points. Hawaii. It's actually prohibited to sell stale beer in that state.
Come on.
Yeah. That's nice, huh?
I'll be darned.
Should be a law everywhere. BevMo would go out of business.
They didn't make it stale.
No, but they sell it stale. And it's not, you're allowed to make stale beer. You're just not allowed to sell stale beer. That's what the law says. Okay, Daniela, would you grab that microphone there, please, if you can, and tell us who the winner of today's game is.
Well, I want to start with the person who sucked the most. That was John.
Very nice.
100 points, John. Awesome job. And then we have our listener with 700 points, and Dr. Scott also 700 points.
Oh, wow.
And Jamil has incredibly 1,100 points.
1,100 points. He almost lapped you guys.
Yeah, but he got it in the first 5 minutes, and then he just slack the rest
That's
of the time.
What a surprise. Jamil wins another competition. What a shocker.
That's true. And it was Dr. Scott's right. The style category pretty much sealed the deal for that game. I'm going to have to be more careful about our future guests,
You didn't even get done reading the question.
All right. Good job, everybody. That was a good game.
Any prize, just give it to Matt.
All right. Okay. I'll tell you what, Matt, you're going to win a Widmer Hefeweizen t-shirt just for playing with us. How about
Awesome.
that?
Thanks, Jamil. You're the best.
So, good enough. Thanks for playing. Hey, good luck in the poker game.
Yeah, I'll need it. Believe me.
All right, nag John about the shirt. He's going to have it for you.
Yeah.
I'll make him cough it up.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for playing, Matt. We'll see you
All
later.
right, guys. Good show.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right, good work, everybody. Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
I had a good time. I'm going to have to do that more often. Get a little, I don't know, some tougher questions in there. You know what I'm saying?
Anything with styles, man.
Yeah. All right. We're going to take a little break. When we come back, we're going to start our style discussion. How about that? Jamil, do you think you're ready for the style discussion after that little warm-up?
I'm going to pick your brain.
I think he's totally ready. All right, you're listening to the Brewing Network. We'll be back in about 5 minutes.
You're listening to a bunch of guys talk about beer. The Brewcasters on the Brewing Network.
John just peed in the last 35 seconds of the break, I want you all to know.
That was talented.
That's
And it
impressive.
took him 34.
That was quite impressive.
Thank you.
Would you just,
I ran, just
squeeze it all out of there, or what?
No, it's a dribble tray all the way
I
back.
was going to say, I guarantee you there's some dribble down his leg right now.
I was talking about on your carpet.
You wouldn't notice it from the dog anyway,
that's awesome.
or my girlfriend.
Blame it on the dog.
Just kidding.
You leak too, Jay?
I do leak occasionally. Doesn't matter how much I shake. Hey, before we get to the style guideline, I just want to follow up the game with some of those weird things I had about, like, different laws. I had a whole list of crazy laws from countries. From states.
Throw it on us.
Thought these would be funny because, now remember that they're not...
It's not funny if you live there.
Yeah, it's not funny if you live there. They're not necessarily laws that are enforced, but they're on the books. They are laws, so...
So you can't marry your cousin and drink a beer at the same time.
They are laws very similar to that.
Okay.
I think that one's only valid in California, actually. For example, in Nebraska, it's illegal for a bar owner to sell beer unless they're simultaneously brewing a kettle of soup. What? That law's actually on the books there. In North Dakota, beer and pretzels cannot be served at the same time in any bar or restaurant.
In Canada?
In North Dakota.
North Dakota.
Yeah, because, that's fighting the restaurants for some business.
Yeah. This one's awesome.
Like weight control.
In Texas, it's illegal to take more than 3 sips of beer at a time while standing. So if you're gonna,
how do they calculate that one out?
To chug a beer, you got to sit down. I just want to know what made
Better
them
sit down there, cowboy.
I wanted to be there when they decided that law had to be written.
Why did they need that law?
Some dumbass cowboy stood up there, chugged a beer, and fell over. Right? And he probably hit his head on the bar, and they decided they needed a law like that. It had to be something like that.
Bubba's got a bump.
Also in Texas, the entire Encyclopedia Britannica is banned because it contains a formula for making beer at home.
Do they have internet in Texas?
How about that? They do. And it's also, I don't think it's illegal anymore to brew beer in Texas, although I could be wrong. I know we've got some forum users from Texas, although the one I'm thinking of is on a base.
Wait, Texas?
So maybe that's
legal.
why.
It is legal.
But I think that it's sort of recent.
Oh, 5.
But it's a law on the books. Let's see. In St. Louis, it's unlawful to provide beer to elephants.
No shit.
Which is common
Yeah, they
sense,
did that.
but
They did that once, and all hell broke
it was ugly.
Those are
in Virginia, you cannot sell lettuce on Sunday, but you can sell beer and wine. It's interesting.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Don't let us sell lettuce.
Yeah, so hope you're not making any lettuce varieties of beer. In Alberta, Canada, it's illegal for a man to drink with a woman in an Edmonton beer parlor in Alberta. And that's actually how it's written. That's why it's so difficult for me to get out. In Alberta, you can't drink with a woman in an Edmonton parlor that's in Alberta.
Whoa.
There you go.
Okay.
Let's see.
Hey.
In Ames, Iowa, it's illegal for a man to take more than 3 gulps of beer while lying in bed with his wife or holding her in his arms.
He is good. Marriage control.
Oh, that's awesome.
Kegerator by the bedside.
I can't live in Iowa. I'm always drinking while I'm laying.
Honey, let's live dangerously. You take 3 sips of beer, you hold on to me, and then we'll rip that mattress tag off.
Yeah.
Let's see. In Ohio, this is even better. In Ohio, it's illegal to get a fish drunk.
Where's Sam?
How many fish do you have to drink before you get a fish drunk?
That's a good question. And I thought that all
they pour
fish drank a lot.
beer into their aquarium?
I guess so.
I didn't. I had some friends poured some vodka in the aquarium once.
And what happened to the fish?
We had floaters.
Yeah.
This last one is this last one is a law that I intend on putting into effect at my next party. In Lexington, Kentucky, anyone who has been drinking is sober until he or she cannot hold on to the ground. And that's actually what it says. And in quotations, cannot hold on to the ground. That's what it says. So that is going to be...
Daniela's got something here.
Okay. Are these that you gave me? No, these are questions? Okay. I got one coming from the chat room. We'll make this the last law. Then I got a couple questions, and then we're going to start the style thing. There's a beer... You guys ever had any beer from Lithuania?
No.
Ultinus Alus? Ever heard of Ultinus Alus? Utinus Alus. Utenos Alus. Ever heard of that? Chat room's asking us. Sorry. Oh, Dr. Scott.
No, I haven't.
No, have not had it. Okay, here's a law that came from the chat room. Is it Shadron? In Shadron, Nebraska, it's illegal to take your... Horse. Oh, your horse. When Daniela says horse, it sounds more like whores. But in Shadron, Nebraska, it's illegal to take your horse into a bar. So, and this person actually saw this law broken once. Which is
That's
nice.
Great. Thank you. That's awesome.
Okay, let me just address this question real quick.
The horse had the money.
Because I forgot to mention it. Crotch Rot, if you can't hang out, tell me in the chat room because I'll get going on it sooner. Otherwise, I'm going to wait. We've got our first listener homebrew here at the house today. Crotch Rot, one of our best listeners, been cool to us since the beginning, a good friend of the show.
Nice on the forum, too.
Nice in the forums all the time. He helps out our listeners who can't log in. He logs them in through his computer. He's a cool guy.
Yeah.
He sent us his beer. I got 2 different styles.
Whoa.
He's got a Newcastle Stout, I think it was. Okay. No, Newcastle Brown, right? They don't make a stout. I'm just confusing. Why does it say that? But Newcastle Brown that he did a mock version of, and then his American Pale Ale, which works perfect for the show because it's American Pale Ale week in the whole country.
Nice.
So, Crotch Rot, if you can hang out, I'm going to get to that maybe in between this discussion and then the Jamil interview. If you can't hang out, let us know. I'll get going on it.
Thanks, Rot.
Okay. So yeah, I love that. We got listener beer.
Quite a
Our
foreign
first
name.
listener beer. I have a feeling that someday we're going to get in trouble for encouraging people to send us beer because you're like not supposed to send beer across state lines and all that. Right now,
it's for research.
Well, you don't know what state we're in.
That's true. Nobody
say that.
We never said. Yeah. And we said like 100 times.
Wait, it's for a contest, right? No, you're sending live yeast cultures.
Ah, yes.
Not beer. Live yeast cultures.
That's true. That's true.
For evaluation.
Send that. It's purely science. All my drinking is purely science, by the way. And I want to say thanks to one more listener, although I don't know that he wants me to tell everybody what he sent, because it's awesome. But Lufa, another cool guy in the chat room, he's the guy with the picture with the beer.
Yeah.
Doesn't he just look like someone you want to be friends with?
Yeah.
Like the guy just has he's got a big smile and a beer and a shiny head. And you're just
hey, I got a shiny head.
You do. But you got the same thing going. He's just one of those guys, you see that every time I read his post, I look at that picture and I'm like, man, I wish he was a friend of the show. And he kind of is, I guess, in the forum. So, Lufa, thank you for your gift to the Brewing Network. That was really awesome. John, I'll show you what it is later.
Cool.
It's
I look forward to
totally
it.
cool.
Right on.
So there you go.
But you're not going to show me.
I'll show you.
The secret.
Neither one of you guys need it. That's the thing. But
Okay.
I do. I'll give you that. I'll tell you that. I need it. You guys don't.
It's an implant, or
It's an actual lobotomy. That's what it is. All right, why don't we start talking about styles?
Let's talk about it.
All right. And I don't mean like who's got the best clothes either. The BJCP has set up some style guidelines for beers in order to help facilitate competition so that people can design beers around those styles and give the judges guidelines to evaluate them on.
Right.
So how about a little more history about the BJCP guidelines? For example, I know that there's a revised edition now from 2004. But there was another edition that stopped, I believe, in 1999 was the last one, and then they just revised that in 2004. So when did they even start doing guidelines? When was the first set of guidelines given? You guys know that?
1985.
85 they started?
Colorado.
Okay.
Right.
And then they came out with the official guidelines?
That's when it started.
Now, is it the only purpose to have these guidelines, or I should say the main purpose, for competition, or was it just for homebrewers in general? You guys know about that?
Well, let's go back to what it used to be.
Okay.
How they grouped beers. And
right.
Actually,
how did they group beers?
Jamil explained a lot of this to me and why they went and changed it all. At first, it was just mostly regional countries, different kinds of beers in different countries, and they would kind of group them together. But when you're trying to judge that, and you're judging 3 beers that are totally 3 different beers, it kind of messed up the judges quite a bit. And now it kind of gets closer, Jamil, to like if light lagers is light lagers.
But there's subcategories.
And then there's subcategories on that, but it's still closer.
Yeah, it's very difficult to group the beers by style. Either you're doing something historical, or you're doing something that has a similar brewing technique, or and that may not be the best thing for competition.
Right.
The Scottish ales, for example, you've got 60 shilling, 70 shilling, 80 shilling. Then they stuck in the Irish red and the wee heavy, and you're essentially putting a barley wine up against a 3% beer.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work out very well. But it's difficult because there's no good answer to it. So they've really done a spectacular job with the 2004 guidelines. I think it's the best set of guidelines we have so far.
I like it a lot better. It seems more straightforward. Similar beers are grouped better, rather than just regional.
In general, though, even when they grouped them that way, it was still for competition. Then it wasn't just to know what to homebrew.
Well, and it in a way, it's an educational tool.
Mm-hmm.
So when I first started homebrewing, people told me about the BJCP, and I started reading through the guidelines, and I really didn't have a whole lot of intention to compete, but it was very informative. There's a lot of really good information in there. History of styles. You can learn about styles that you don't know about.
Right.
It's basic ingredients, and it's very helpful as just a learning tool for somebody who's interested in beer.
Okay.
You download it for free and read through the thing, and it's a lot of good information.
I did download it and been reading through it now for a couple of days, both to make the game that we played and get ready for this. And actually, you're right. There is a ton of information, and I thought it was awesome just that it not only talks about the ingredients of a beer, but where the beer came from, who makes the original style, or at least some good examples of it, and then what the best qualities of a beer that really matches that style are. Like, it really gives you a lot of that stuff. So it is educational. You can get those in case you don't know. There might not be too many homebrewers out there who haven't, but it's www.bjcp.org. Right, you can go right there, and there's a few different formats. There's even a study guide that you can download flashcards where it gives you, the style on one sheet. You turn it over, and it's got all the information. Because you can actually go through a program to become certified as a judge, which you are, correct, Jamil?
Yes.
Okay.
What rank are you?
National
judge. Okay.
What are the ranks?
There's apprentice, recognized, certified, national, master, grandmaster.
Wow.
And then multiple levels of grandmaster.
And is it all based on a test that you pass, or what are the criteria?
There's a 3-hour exam.
Okay.
Which has 4 beers that you judge during the exam, and then there's 10 essay questions.
Okay.
And that plus experience that you gain from judging competitions.
Okay.
You'll get a point here or there, and once you get a certain number of points and a certain score on the exam, you reach that level.
You move up.
Yeah.
So do you then keep retaking the exam in order to move up?
You can. It depends. A lot of people do retake the exam. They'll start out, they're new to beer judging, and they may score recognized or certified, and then they'll retake it to get a higher score and as they gain more experience.
Okay.
You only have to take it once to get to a certain level.
Okay. All right. You were talking to John about possibly doing that certification program, but John's being a sissy about it.
Well,
it does help you as a brewer, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
Understanding styles.
I'm trying to think of the amount of studying right now that you would do on all those styles in order to pass that 3-hour test, and
it's not easy, I hear.
It would have to improve your skill, at least your knowledge of what styles are supposed to be.
Well, I'm curious about, as a home brewer, when you started brewing, did you read those guidelines and did you research styles, or did you just go off those guidelines? Like, how did you even come up with recipes for all the beers that you actually brewed? Did you?
Well, a big part of it was the style guidelines, and another big part of it was, Ray Daniels designing great beers, and everything else. I got everything I could read, and read that, and matched that up with the style guides, and did some test brews, and that's pretty much how it worked.
Wow.
A good point from the chat room is that the guidelines are really good if you are trying to design a beer that you don't know anything about, that you're not familiar with.
Definitely.
So, and there's so many different styles that it really is a great place to start to try to figure out what ingredients to use and how to brew it, and so that's true if you're going to do a new style that you've not done before.
But I think a good point to talk about later would be how process would play a role into being consistent to brewing a beer style. I mean, you can elaborate this, I'm not sure, but how effective is having a consistent brew process, going through all these different beer styles, these 23 styles and these guidelines, making a certain style of beer that you're trying to experiment upon?
Well, it's huge. One of the things I started when I was starting out trying to learn to brew good beer, I told myself I would brew every style in the style guidelines, and thus I would learn about all the different styles. I'd learn about all the different ingredients. I figured, all these styles must use all the ingredients that are out there one way or another, and that would be a good way to learn about those. And one of the things about process, a lot of these beers, mash temp is a difference of just a few degrees one way or another, but it makes a dramatically different beer.
Okay.
And if you can't consistently repeat a certain mash temperature or a certain process, you're not going to be able to adjust it enough to get to the next style of beer or the next effect you want in that beer.
Could that put you out of style?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I got a couple questions, I think, in regarding putting you out of style, maybe trying to brew something that you didn't. These come from the chat room. Have you ever brewed a beer in one style but enter it as another after tasting it yourself?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I brought an example of that.
You did?
As a matter of fact,
What was in
Let's try that. Why don't we get that out and get it going?
Yeah, let's try it.
Get a chance
Bust
to get
it out.
What did you bring?
So what did you try to brew this as to start?
Well, this was I was brewing this as a Dortmunder export.
Okay.
And
Wait, that's that first beer, right? That first pale lager.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
According to the BJCP.
And
Jamil missed that question on the test, apparently.
Because we still think
-1.
But he argued with them that they actually missed the question on the test. It's Pilsner or Quell.
Well, in the
yes,
Hellas,
we think so too.
Check this out. In the Hellas history here, they talk about how the Germans came up with the Hellas style because they didn't want all Germans going to the Czech Republic for their light lager beer, so that's why they came up with the Hellas. So, I mean, it's been around before the Hellas has. So.
Right.
Really?
Yeah. It's like a regional thing.
I'm not too sure.
Here, I'm going to...
Here, read here.
Wow.
Hey, if it's written down, it must be true.
No.
Okay, history of the... Oh, I can't find it.
Is it right here?
Oh, well. It was there, man. Either that or I was seeing double. Could have
So...
Okay, so what did you try to brew this as then? This was the Dortmunder.
It was going to be a Dortmunder export, and which is a really well balanced beer. It's a bigger malt and hop bitterness than a lot of the other pilsners, but it's extremely balanced. Well, if you guys are tasting this, you should get like a giant blast of hops, right? A good German noble hop. And, after I tasted it, one of the reasons was I was just playing around with hop times, and I shifted everything really late in the brew process. And the hop character just came jumping out of there, and it's still there. And,
How old is this?
So this is, probably a year old.
Wow.
So this is the one I tasted it, and I was just like, well, it's not a bad beer, but it's definitely not a Dortmunder export. So it's the beer I entered as a German Pilsner that you were asking about in the Nationals.
Right.
That it placed as a German Pilsner in the Nationals because it's very very hoppy. The only problem with it as a German Pilsner is it's not dry enough or crisp enough as a German Pilsner.
It's not crisp
right,
enough.
Exactly.
Now, what about the
as
color?
a good beer? As a Dortmunder, it would be fine.
This is where it gets sketchy.
What about the color as a German Pilsner? Because it's
too
more
dark.
of an amber color, too.
Yeah, it's too dark.
But it did well as a Pilsner. Is that what you're saying?
Well, competitions, one of the things in competition that you have to do is you have to brew a good beer, a really good beer. So the bigger the competition, the better beer you have to brew as a base.
Okay.
And in something like the first round of the Nationals, where you're going up against, 728 beers in California, and there's 60 in your category, you brew a really great beer, and then a little bit of luck comes into play. They'll have a half a dozen spectacular beers to choose from. If you're not one of those spectacular beers, then you don't stand a chance at placing. And even if you did brew one, then it's a little bit of
it also comes down to what order your beer got tasted in too.
Flight order makes a big difference.
It does.
As well. In a really big
just
flight
for points alone, or the order. I mean, I'm sure points.
Well, if you're the very first beer, they're going to hold back on points.
Right.
If you're the very last beer,
tasting it,
they're going to be a little dead in the palate too.
Yeah, right. That's what I would think.
Well, especially in a hoppy category.
Right. Yeah.
And how many categories do you judge in one competition? Like in a day, let's say.
Well, it depends on the competition. If it's a real busy competition, they'll have you do two
categories.
Yeah.
Okay. And how many beers might be in a flight then?
Try and restrict it to no more than 12 maximum, but generally around 8 or 10.
So you could have 16 to 24 different beers in a day that you have to
just
judge.
like you, Justin.
So these are like 2-ounce samples. So.
Except that my numb face thing. I could never be a judge because it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
So Jamil, how many judges have you actually paid to get your beer to the next level? Let's get to the real stuff here.
I'd have to check my financial records.
Okay. Another listener wants to know how many mistakes have won awards for you, and what were you trying to do? As maybe name a couple. You were trying to do something, and what?
Well, like what kind of mistake? Like which?
You tried to do one style. You ended up with another one,
right.
And you got a. How many would you say that ended up with? Awards.
Generally, that doesn't seem to work very well for me. If something is good and to style, then it's good and to style, and it does well. I brewed a Belgian Strong Golden 3 years ago, and it never really did very well as a Belgian Strong Golden. It would place here and there, but it never really did anything significant. Well, I entered it this year in the Nationals as a blonde because it seemed a little too sweet for a Belgian Strong Golden, and sure enough, it placed. It got a first in the first round, and it got a silver in the final round of the Nationals.
Wow!
And so that's sort of a mistake. I mean, the style's pretty close together, but
okay.
Sometimes you have to go back, and it's not necessarily what you brewed, but it's what the beer is.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you made a mistake, and you didn't brew the beer you were intending to brew. You got to honestly look at it, try it, and evaluate it, and say, no, it's actually a better beer in this style. And that's, again, goes to, understand the BJCP style guides.
Do you ever ask others about your beer? Like, what do you think of this? What style this should fit into? Or do you just read the BJCP guidelines?
When I first started out, I got a lot of feedback from people, and I would take it to various, experts in my area and have them taste it and tell me what they thought. And I'd match that up with what I thought from reading the guidelines. Now, I know the guidelines quite well, and I can pretty much identify my beers, but I still find it very valuable to get additional feedback from other people. So I'll bring beers down to More Beer, or I'll take them out to a couple of master judges in my area. And
you could bring them to my house. There's a lot of guys around here who drink Coors Light and stuff, and they could really tell you about a good Pilsner.
They have a really clean palate.
Yeah, exactly. You'll blow them away. Just a suggestion if you ever want to do that.
Yeah.
If I really wanted to win a medal, but didn't want to go through all the work, would it be unethical of me to keg up a nice craft brew and send it into a competition?
Yes.
Or to bottle it up?
Yes.
Have you guys ever heard of something like that happen in a competition?
It's been talked about, but don't do it.
I
think judges could tell probably.
You know, in a lot of, if you look at the classic styles for a lot of the beers, if you were to take, a good example of this is the Oktoberfest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oktoberfest in the homebrew world has become very big, alcoholic, giantly malty.
Right.
If you drink a classic German Oktoberfest, it's a much crisper, more evenly balanced beer, and much easier drinking.
Okay.
And if you were to take a Spaten and rip the label off and enter in a competition, you would not place.
So, now that actually brings up, so if you brewed
Depends on
then,
the judges.
if you brewed one to the style of that, to that original, you're saying you wouldn't win, even though it's the original style.
Very difficult. I had
That's
one
interesting.
that I thought was exactly to style. And,
Right.
Dave Hausman, who's one of the fantastic judges we have in the United States, he thought it was, a 48-point classic, German Oktoberfest, but, he's the only one who ever thought it was great, in that competition. Every other competition, it would, do in the 30s.
Yeah.
Everyone thought it was too thin, too weak, too dry.
Yeah. Well, I would guess, though, that kind of change is inevitable as beers evolve, and especially in America where the home brew, it's such a big community that they're really making changes to all different sorts of styles. Well, it's going to be hard to keep them the same.
That's a good point. I mean, are the BJCP guidelines written nationally? I mean, those are obviously Americanized.
Right.
Okay.
It's written from an American group of master judges and national judges.
Okay.
And it takes in a lot of a lot of Americans travel all over the world sampling beer, and there's a real knowledge out there, and they do a pretty fantastic job. It's not easy to capture what they've captured, and I think they've done pretty spectacularly.
Okay.
Someone in the chat room wants to know how you decide which beers you send to competition. I know you said you used to, kind of check in with a lot of people, but
yeah,
what are your criteria?
Well,
now?
he goes into the vault and he starts looking over. I guess
when I brew something new, I'll taste it myself and I'll say, is this a good example of the style or not? Do I think this is good? And if I think it's good, I'll send it on to, there's a couple of competitions I trust. The one up in Reno, I know those guys really well, and I'll put it in there and see how it does there. I'll see how it does in some other smaller competition. Okay. Just to see if it kind of gets the same response that I think it deserves.
Okay.
And if it does well there, I'll send it on. For the Nationals this last time, I did what Scott was saying. I went through my beer cellar and I pulled out one of everything and I tasted them all.
Gotcha. How old were they?
Ranging from 4 or 5 years to a few months old.
Wow.
And deciding what was the best of everything that I had, and I entered those. And,
okay.
A bunch of the old stuff did really well.
Nice. Even did you have any 5-year-old beers do real well?
And English barley wine got first place.
So that one you want to age for a nice long time.
Yeah, and the Belgians were 4 years old, I think.
Okay.
There's you really beers, if you keep them cold and stable, and your brewing process is very, very clean.
Yeah.
Beers will, even the low gravity beers will sit there 3-4 years, no problem.
Wow. I'll tell you, I would love to age a beer for a nice long time, but it's
like
impossible in my house. Impossible.
A month would be a record for you.
This IPA that's on there right now is the longest a beer has ever stayed.
I was drinking that last week.
Well, and then I had to do to save it is I had to take it out, bring it to where I store it, which is off premises. It's 45 minutes the other direction. I store it there, and then I brought it back to drink now. Because the Germans don't like the IPA anyway, my visitors, and they're, so I figured let's not waste it. They don't really like it anyhow. I'll store it. I think it's been aging for 2-3 weeks or something. So yeah, that's max for me. 3 years, forget it. A month, you're out of your mind. I would really have to be brewing on that 20-gallon system to get that happening. Someone wants to know, Jamil, what advice you would give for entering their first competition.
First of all, do it.
Okay.
If you don't enter, you won't win, and you won't improve your.
It's like the lottery.
Yeah, you have to just bite the bullet and do it. And before you enter that competition, make sure you're brewing, brew a good beer. And a beer you feel is really good. Write down your notes on it. And, don't wait for, some mythical best brew that you're going to brew sometime in the future. Brew enter the best beer you have today, enter it. Get the feedback, match it up with your notes of what you perceived. And, a lot of people, they complain, the judges don't know anything. They don't, the judges are judging blindly. They don't know it's your beer. They've got nothing against you. They are doing, they are perceiving at the time. That's what they perceived, and you have to trust that. They are not wrong.
Okay.
You may not agree with it, but, that's what they perceived at the time from that beer in that bottle in that glass at that time.
Right.
That's a good point.
If you can adjust your process and learn from what they're telling you, you'll make better beer or more competitive beer.
It could be just several things. It could be like Jamil said, you got to brew a good beer first. Second is it's got to be the style. They'll knock you down if it's not the style. It could still be a good beer, but it's not in style. You're going to get knocked down for it. Or if you didn't brew a really good beer, they're going to knock you down. But don't take that hard. Just like he said, you want to use that to adjust your brewing style,
right,
to move ahead. If you're going to keep brewing the same way all the time and be stagnant, there's no fun in that.
Yeah.
You're going to brew the same beer all the time, and you're not going to move ahead.
Even I agree with that.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
you give your beer to your friends,
and
you don't give them a beer and say, go away, I don't want to hear from you.
Sure.
Yeah.
You give them your beer and you're looking at their face to see if they like it.
Yeah, you really want to know.
And if they don't like it, you find another friend.
Yeah.
So, but you do listen to what they say. Just the same way with these beer judges.
Well, and make sure you find out the best style to enter it into.
Right.
So, read the style guidelines, find an experienced judge, ask them to tell you what style they think it is.
You might be in the middle of two styles. Just enter it in both.
There you go.
And don't be thinking you're trying to fool them.
Yeah.
You're just trying to get it in the best style. And if it is more along the lines of all the other beers in that flight, you're going to do well. If it's going to be an odd man out, probably not.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad about putting in two different styles. You don't have to pick one style.
It's okay to just go ahead and do it.
Right, because some are pretty close. And if you're in the middle of it, you want to, and you get different feedback, and I use that feedback to dial it in for the next time.
Right.
It helps you grow as a brewer too.
It's actually interesting how that works, where they set up all these style guidelines, and John was going over with me the beers that he brewed that went to nationals, and what's the number of categories that you went to nationals in?
There's 7 subcategories.
So you went in 7 categories,
right?
But only
and Jamil went in 17.
But how many beers was that?
I went in 12.
4 different beers.
Okay, so that's what I mean. That's what's interesting. He was in 7 categories or subcategories, but it was only 4 beers, right? So you could have an Oktoberfest that goes in one category, and then goes in another category that you'd go, what are you talking about? That's not an Oktoberfest, but it just might work because there's something about the style.
Like
that's exactly what happened to me.
Okay.
I had what I thought was a really nice Oktoberfest. And more along probably the standard guidelines, not more than that. But Jonathan said, why don't we put it in dark lager also? And it did okay. It did, low 30s, mid 30s probably in Oktoberfest, but it took a first in the first round of the Nationals as a dark lager. And it's whatever.
It was a Martin too, right?
It was a nice beer, but which category did it really fit in?
Yeah.
Which one was it closer? And one of the big things about competition is you need to brew a clean, good tasting beer.
Right.
No matter what. And all the styles can be brewed that way.
Right.
And, you can brew them 2 style and clean, well tasting beer. And if you got a junky beer, but it's a style, it's not going to do well.
Yeah.
You got to have a really well, you got to brew well first and then adjust the style.
Well, that's a good point. That's a really good point to get your process down and really brew a good beer.
But don't think you got to be a master to enter a contest.
Yeah.
And there's big contests and there's little contests out there. And you might want to start out with a small contest, a smaller county fair. There's a lot of county fairs going on in the summertime.
Yeah.
Rather than hitting the nationals your first round out.
That's a good idea. And Jamil said, agrees with that right in the beginning. He said, don't wait for the mythical, awesome, perfect beer.
Right.
Go ahead and enter it. And then make an awesome beer from the notes afterward.
Right.
Keep going with it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me break this up real quick with a question that's sort of off topic. And then let's pick another style from our style sheet here, have a beer with it, and talk about that specific style. The question is, maybe you guys can help this person out. And is that word dad? Yeah. Okay. What kind of beer can you brew for a dad with a wheat allergy? It needs to be gluten-free.
Gluten-free.
Yeah, so Dr. Scott, maybe you got something in there. Obviously, you're going to exclude the wheat in your grain bill.
Is there barley has wheat gluten in it?
Even barley does. There are some gluten-free grains they use.
Sorghum.
Sorghum is common, and there's a gluten-free group in the United States.
Okay.
You find them on the web, and they have recipes for brewing gluten-free beer. People have been working on this for years.
Okay. Do you know the name of that off the top of your head?
I don't off the top of my head.
Maybe just do a Google search for a little
there's
gluten-free.
There's alternate grains
beer,
out there. There's alternate grains out there you can use to brew with.
Could you think of a style off the top of your hand that might be good with all gluten-free grains?
I was talking to somebody else about doing this as well, and they were asking me about it, and one of the things you could do if you had some malted, sorghum or whatever it is, you could toast it up in the oven, and get yourself some roasted grains. Get yourself, wet it down and make some crystal grains out of it.
But all off of the same grain.
Off the same grain. That's how
basically what it is.
That's how all beer.
Barley is just the way they treat. The different grain, the different barleys all the way up, and that's how you use.
All those malts are it's barley, and from that you could make any beer.
Gotcha.
It's a big project.
Yeah, sorghum is it called?
Yeah,
sorghum.
There was another gluten-free grain that they're using for brewing beer too.
We should try brewing one.
That's a good idea.
Want to do it? Group effort. Let's do it.
I'll try to track down a recipe for one, and if our website does go up this week, I'll put it up there for you. So, because that's interesting to me, and I would like to help out somebody who can't drink beer but needs to drink beer. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, let me see if I can find something. But go ahead and look up gluten-free beer or gluten-free grain on Google. See if you can find something.
Just gluten-free.
And maybe just try to make your own grains that way. That's a good idea. I didn't realize you could just totally toast it yourself and
do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there you go. I'm just too lazy to figure that out, I guess. All right, so that was a good question. Why don't we pick what style do you want to pick that we have a beer to coincide with?
Did you bring a shilling?
Yes, I did.
Let's talk about Scottish ales.
Okay.
So Jamil's pretty much known for these, so.
Okay.
And he's got an article in the July-August 2005 Zymergy issue.
Who does?
Jamil does.
You're famous, Jamil.
Yeah, it's called Clean and Malted.
He was famous before that.
He's got 2 recipes in there, too, by the way.
Yeah, 6 recipes in there.
Okay, 6.
Is that right?
I did the other article, too, on ordinary bitters and milds.
Yes.
Okay. So Scottish ale we're going to do. You placed in the Scotch ale this year, didn't you, John?
I did.
You did?
And we heavy's placed.
Ah, very nice.
Got a second.
Good work.
Dr. Scotch's ale.
It's the difference between us. I know the difference. Never mind.
What?
And you can
go ahead, spit it out.
Well, there was Scottish ale, but I see here a strong Scotch ale.
Well, Scotch ale and Scottish ale, and generally the lighter alcohol, lighter gravity ones are the Scottish ales.
Okay, so a strong Scotch ale.
I have a question though for Jamil. Why did they brew such low gravity ales in Scotland? I mean, it's cold up there. You'd think you want to be kept warm.
You want to warm up a little bit.
It could be the taxes.
Oh, they did mention that, the taxes for grain.
They get taxed on. They taxed them on everything. The grain bill, the alcohol content.
Right. Yeah, and it's the same thing in Britain. They were getting taxed so heavily that they needed to cut back, and it's actually an extremely enjoyable style when there's not a lot of alcohol. You can have a lot of flavor still, and you can drink 3-4 pints of something at 3%, and still walk home from your pub. Versus if you have 3-4 pints of what we're brewing in California now at like the average is 6.5, 7.
Yeah.
It becomes a lot harder to walk home.
Can't throw your darts straight anymore.
Yeah. So, over there, drinking for the evening is a pastime. You go down to your pub and you have a few pints with, you stand around with your friends and
That's weird because at my house, drinking for the evening is kind of a pastime too. I'm like a little Scotland over here.
Exactly.
Times 4.
Yeah.
You're your own little island.
Exactly.
I will never forget what you just said.
Like
Little Scotland.
Little Scotland.
That's beautiful.
Should
Got a little Scotland in you.
I'm going to
So
put a sign on the studio door that says Little Scotland.
Yes. This beer is very sweet. Very
No,
caramely.
but
Real
yeah,
malty, caramely.
but it's not cloyingly sweet.
Yeah.
It
a lot of
kind
malt.
of it's sweet up front and it cuts out to a real nice crisp finish.
What hops?
It's awesome. This is your Scottish ale right here?
Yes, this is also I've won a lot of awards with this one.
This one smokes. Ugh.
That is the... Go ahead. That
You're
is
drooling on your microphone.
I'm not a big... The thing is that I'm not a big Scottish ale fan. They have a sort of a weird taste to me that I don't usually enjoy. This is awesome.
Yeah.
To me, it's because it's got that... it's an amber ale taste, right? It's like it's got that red ale taste, which if it's too red for me, I just don't like it. But it doesn't go too far the other way either.
The sweetness is here, but it doesn't lay on your tongue.
Oh, this is an awesome beer.
How many shillings is this?
80 shilling.
Okay.
So what, like 1040, 10
Yeah, in the 40s.
Okay.
Low
Is
40s.
this recipe in Zymergy right now?
No, but
He's
you
got
know, email me. I'll give you any recipe I got.
All right, let's do that. I just want to give this away to the listeners because we're sitting here ranting about it.
This
and these
smokes.
Awesome, yeah.
These poor guys at home are thinking, "What is that? This isn't."
Hey, if I could pour some in this microphone, you guys could all enjoy it.
This is a really good beer.
I can email you the recipe and you can put it on the website if you want. Or
Okay, email it to me if you would.
How about we just forward the emails to him?
So then he's got to do a bunch of work.
Okay.
Just email me the recipe, Jamil. We'll make it easy on you, and
Sure. Okay.
I'll distribute it.
Sounds good.
So I'll give this to you guys. Well, email, and whatever other recipes you want from him too. He sounds like he's pretty open with it.
Sure.
So.
You only brought one of those?
Yeah, seriously. Next time, bring a keg of that, please.
You're obviously not afraid to give away your recipe. And,
Right.
and why is that?
because
But the community, man.
Well, besides that, but there's...
Well, yeah, one is, other people, they helped me out when I was starting out, and so it's really incumbent upon me to give back anything I can, however little that is, to try and, help out. If anybody can brew better beer off of the information I give them, great.
Right.
But I think, it's so much more than recipe.
It is.
Fermentation is everything to me. And, if you can't ferment the beer properly, I can give you the recipe, I can give you the grains, I can give you the equipment, same equipment. You could come and brew it at my house. It's not going to turn out the same if you don't ferment it the way that I do.
Okay.
So fermentation is critical.
I've proved that at a number of meetings. Last year, especially, we used to have club brew, where I would give I would give everybody
Weiss beer.
I would give everybody the same recipe. I would give two versions. I'd give an extract recipe and an all grain recipe, and the only thing I cared about was that you followed all the recipe to the T, as far as the grain bill and the hops and everything else. I didn't care what water you used. I didn't care what temperature you fermented at, what you mashed at, whatever. Just use the same recipe. And at one point we had 16 beers to try.
Wow.
We didn't have one that was even close to the other. It was just so totally different. So it's just not all about recipe.
Yeah.
And these guys that covet their recipes and just won't give it up,
it's crap.
Yeah.
I've actually read some past interviews from Jamil. Not always quite as naive as I pretend to be. And your
Yes,
quote
you are.
is, I said not always. The quote that I remember the best from you is that somebody asked you, what's the most important part of the process and about brewing in that general area, and you had three answers, and they were all fermentation. You just said fermentation.
Right.
It's like real estate except for yeast.
For yeast, exactly. And that's a good, it's a great point. And you're not the only one that I've heard say that. Other people have, they want to know about, hey, what if I use these hops? What if I use that? And aside from deciding your IBUs and other specifics, everybody pretty much says, look, you can use whatever you want. It's going to be great beer if you ferment it right.
Anybody can make work.
Well, it is the yeast real estate.
Right.
That you're messing with.
You're manipulating them.
And you mess with their neighborhood too much, and they're not going to be happy.
Of outbreaks.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk
Yeast
about
riot.
this. Let's get into some specifics of this style of some Scotch ales. What are some characteristics of a Scottish ale? Sorry, of Scottish ales.
Don't make me come over.
So if you look in the guidelines, they actually group the 60, 70, and 80 shilling together under one description. because
what's a shilling?
Shilling is a Scottish currency, and what they did way back when is they named the beer based on how much tax they paid on a barrel of beer.
Okay.
So they paid 60 shillings of tax on a lower gravity beer, and 70 shillings on the next one up, and 80 on that, and they had all ranges of them.
So when you're talking shillings in the beer style, you're talking about gravities.
Starting gravities, yeah.
Right. Okay. And so all of them are quite clean, malty, some caramel character, low hop character, enough hop bitterness to balance. No real hop aroma, no real hop flavor, and the one of the great crimes was that the old style guide kept talking about all the smokiness that's supposed to be in there.
Yeah,
Scottish ale should not be smoky. There should be
like a
no
Rauch
smoke.
malt, or?
There shouldn't be any. And people started putting smoked malts in there because there was some theory that they were using peat, where the water in Scotland was running through the peat bogs, and so it was that's a bunch of nonsense. You go to Scotland, they're not smoky at all.
Okay.
So the thing about those beers is clean, malty, some caramel, no real fruitiness.
What about roasty? Am I mixing up my caramel with my roasty as I'm drinking your beer?
You can get a slight touch of roasty in there. As you go up in shillings, you tend to find a little more roasty in some of the higher shilling beers.
Do you use roasted barley for color?
I believe I do. I think I even use some pale chocolate in there. It's pretty much the same recipe that's in Zymergy now, except you can take that 60 shilling recipe in Zymergy and just scale it up, and there's your 70 shilling, your 80 shilling. You can just throw in more pale malt and make the different beers.
Wow.
Interesting as a commercial example on the BJCP guidelines. It's for a Scottish export, which is one of the subcategories of the Scottish.
Which is what we're having now.
McEwen's IPA. Actually have an IPA in there, which would be interesting under you saying, you don't want a strong hop presence in this style generally. But
you can put the letters on the bottle, but that doesn't put the hops in there.
Yeah,
so,
I guess
a lot of English beers will have IPA listed.
Okay.
And they won't have any perceptible hops.
Like we would expect out here.
It's something completely different. It's marketing over there more than anything.
Gotcha. All right, you guys want to try another style?
Let's do it.
You got more to say about that one? That's a damn good beer, Jamil.
It is damn
really
good.
I think everybody.
Is there any left?
Not in my glass.
Not mine either. So I'll open the bottle.
Jamil?
No, that
he's gonna bring two next time.
You guys out there, you should get this recipe and brew this thing, because.
All right, Jamil, you're gonna have to
check out the Zymergy magazine. July, August,
my taste buds are
2005
dancing.
All right, what do you want to do? You want to do English brown ales?
Let's talk about English browns.
All right, English brown ales.
Yeah.
We got an example of this one too. Another Jamil.
Yeah. He's got a couple, I think. What did you bring? A mild and a.
I have a feeling we're going to
get Did you bring a mild and a Southern English brown?
Is this the one that placed the Nationals this year?
Yeah, this Southern English brown was first place in the final of the National this year.
That's what I was thinking too, Dr. Scott. We are getting spoiled.
We are.
And my Southern English got first in the first round.
Is that right?
So.
Aha.
Ooh, a little competition here.
Nice.
That's where the regional tastes come in, across the nation. So.
What are you saying? John's was crap. It was just the region.
No, it's just one notch less crappy.
Yeah. No, there's a slightly different, perception of, one way or the other, and that'll make a difference.
I just had a good idea for you listeners at home, because I'm thinking, the next time we have Jamil in here, what we got to do is we actually got to give away some trips to the studio so that some of our listeners can actually hang out in the studio with us and drink this beer, because it's a shame that they're not getting to enjoy it.
I think that would be effective too, just for competing. People could, if you could taste other people's beers at competitions, if you went to them, that'd be helpful for a brewer.
But in particular, what a great prize to give away that people can come in and drink Jamil's beer.
Yes.
So I'm just letting you folks at home know so that we don't.
We could have a giveaway of Jamil's beer.
So we don't seem too jerky.
We can give away a trip to Matt. He's 4 miles away.
Yeah, exactly. That's somebody close. Yeah, I don't know if the budget fits in. We can send the Australians over here or anything, but.
So what are we drinking here?
Could we give away one of your beers? Do you have one at home that we could send to somebody? Or would you be willing to part with it?
Sure.
Even if it's just a 12-ounce, you're allowed to say no. I'll stand up for you.
Sure.
Just a 12-ounce bottle?
I'll pick one out.
All right.
That'll be a wheat beer.
Don't call yet. We're gonna make it you're gonna have to work for it. Jamil's not just gonna give it away for nothing.
That light American lager.
He did some work on it. I'm gonna make you work for it, but we'll give away one of those because it'll be well worth the victory, I think.
That would be a question, a trivia question. Or
Yeah. No, it's gonna be some work.
What are we drinking here?
This is mild, and the one thing about this mild was way too carbonated for an English mild. But sometimes in competition you put a little more gas in a beer because you're not sure. And especially in the lighter beers, sometimes they can use a little more gas. But if you put too much in, it gets a carbonic harshness, and that can knock you out. Right. So there's a lot of little adjustments you got.
Carbonation has a lot to do with it because it has mouthfeel, gives a little bitterness from the carbonic acid.
Absolutely.
But if it's too flat, you're going to get knocked down a little bit too. Just kind of that perception of it. And a lot of judges, like when they pour it, depends on the steward who's pouring it, it gets splashed. A lot of the carbonation comes out. The guy likes to swirl it a lot, and then you're going to lose carbonation that way. So if you want to overcompensate, put a little more gas in it, the guy's probably going to swirl it to get some aroma out of it.
I think I got a question from the chat room about that. It might have to do with that. Let me ask this, though, first. To me, this is a lot more carbonated than, say, like a Newcastle brown ale.
Yeah, this one's a little excessive. Last time I entered it, I actually degassed a few bottles.
You did? Okay. All right. Yeah, but I prefer a more carbonated beer, so to me it makes the brown better. I did a malty brown, one of my best brews out of the few that I've done was the malty brown, and I kept the carbonation on a couple days longer just to make it a little more carbonated. I thought it was awesome. Get a little more head on there, too.
Isn't that what Hugh Grant did?
No.
Yeah, I think he did.
Malty brown. This beer is only about 2.5% alcohol.
Wow.
So there's a lot of flavor, there's a lot of body, there's a lot in there. At 2.5% alcohol, you can drink, 3 of these pints.
And you just get fat.
Yeah, and you just, you can enjoy a bunch of beer and be just fine. So that's one reason I got into these. I got kids. I don't want to be, 3 sheets to the wind all the time.
Right.
I like to have a beer, at the end of work and, still be lucid. So a 2.5% alcohol beer with a lot of flavor is perfect for me.
I like to do that while I'm driving. You stay...
Well, it'll keep you below that 8. No, get you below that 0.8%
when you're in Montana.
I totally moved to Montana. By the way, I never drink and drive. I just want you guys to know.
You're a good man.
It's not a joke. I never drink and drive.
I know you don't.
The joke was, never mind. Okay. Question about brown ales. I guess that brown malt, is that really what the question is? That brown malt is hard to find in certain areas?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, all right. So, is brown malt really critical for brewing a brown ale? And if so, what's the best substitute for it?
I've never used brown malt in a brown ale. I have brown malt. You can, is Beeston's making it, or there's
there's
several
hard to find.
Several places that have it.
It's only the internet away, so it's not that hard to find.
Yeah.
But do you really need it?
No.
It was mostly around before they really had cool pale malts.
Right.
It was a base malt back in England before they knew how to kiln it well and have a pale malt. So it's not really essential to have in that thing.
Okay.
But you're right, it is hard to find. Not that many people have it. Williams has it, but...
Okay.
Yeah.
So a good caramel or something you're saying is the substitute for a brown malt?
No.
Give me a good substitute.
Well, it's a base malt. Brown ale's a base malt, so you just go
real
back to
toasty, biscuity base malt.
Right.
Okay.
Like in English 2-row.
What about Maris Otter? Would you use that or?
Well, you'd use a base malt, and it's the same thing that happened in England. They were brewing everything with brown malt, and then they discovered that it was very inefficient, so they went to brewing with pale malt and then using darker grains to flavor everything. And that's the way it's done now. And only for historic reasons would you want to use brown malt. I'm going to brew an all brown malt beer just to see what it turns out like.
Okay.
Cool. Brown malt is a base malt. It's kilned pretty high and it kills a lot of the enzymes.
Yeah, it's like 60 love.
Yeah, so you're not going to get you're not going to get the conversion rate because you killed a lot of your enzymes when you're malting it and then kilning it at that high of a temperature. So when they got into being able to kiln a paler malt with different processes of doing that, they were getting more beer out of their malt.
Okay.
Would you use all that malt strictly? Just
Yeah.
60 Love base malt and don't even add anything else to it?
You might throw in a handful of pale just to ensure good conversion.
And then maybe throw in some kind of toasted to get a little bit of flavor. But
that brown malt's pretty toasty.
It's pretty, it's pretty toasty.
Okay, so for a no brown malt brew, then you're going to go with almost any good base malt, but add your toasty and biscuity grains to get
malt,
in there.
Yeah, and your aromatic.
If you're doing an English brown ale, Maris Otter as your base malt.
Okay.
A little chocolate malt.
Okay.
You can throw in some of the roasted grains, a little bit of crystal.
Okay.
And gets you pretty close.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds pretty close, actually, to the mini mash malt that I got from B3 that I did. That's about the grain bill in there.
Yeah. I brew their recipe, actually, and I entered it as a Southern English brown. It's done well.
Nice.
I just changed the base malt to Maris Otter and then do every specialty grain straight up, what they have. So.
The carbonation drop that we were talking about, and I don't know if that's exactly what this question's referring to, but the question about competition from the chat room is, do you have an opinion about carbonation drops? And I guess they would. I would assume they're meaning what Dr. Scott mentioned.
Wait. Are we talking about the little
prime tabs?
The little prime tab, or the little
by Cooper's?
They're like little chunks of sugar that you pump in there.
Carbonation drops.
Gotcha. Okay, now I hear you. All right, go ahead. Give us that's. We can answer that question too then.
Well, for me personally, I don't bottle condition.
I don't either.
Keg everything and counter pressure fill because you can control things better. You can clarify your beer. Yeah, there's no issues with oxidation. The carbonation's the same. It's just a much better controlled process. But for people who are carbonating in the bottle or conditioning in the bottle, those carbonation drops seem like a great idea to me.
It's it's measured out already,
nice and consistent.
Right, and that's what it is. The consistency. I don't bottle condition either because I like to dial in my carbonation, and it's all about temperature and pressure at that point.
Especially to style too.
The nice thing about carbonating in a keg is you can dial it up.
Yep.
A beer gets to a certain magical spot with a certain carbonation. It tastes really good, and it's creamy, and it's rich, and it's just right. And it's balanced out some of the sweetness with the carbonation, and then you let the carbonation get higher, and then it becomes a little harsher, and it's not quite as good. And you can see that certain range in there.
Yeah.
If you can, if you've gone past it, you can dial it down, you can dial it up, and once you've got it dialed in, then you can go ahead and fill your bottles, and then you've got a really nice beer.
And you can taste it right out of the keg to get it where you want before you commit your bottles to it.
Right. I agree with that. That's one of the main reasons I switched over to kegging. That I was having issues with not getting the right carbonation levels at all. They were too much. They were too little. I just wasn't happy about it. Plus that it was a pain to bottle.
And your roommates weren't washing the bottles.
Exactly. That was a pain too. Although my dishwasher was. So that was.
How long did it take you to bottle?
It doesn't. It's not that it takes long. No, not at all. It didn't take long. I could get it done pretty quick.
Yeah.
Just a pain. You're leaning over a table and you're worried about contamination. You want to make sure everything's right, and it's just a pain. But more so, I was sick of having a batch come out that wasn't carbonated right. I had a gusher, one batch. Mm-hmm. The first batch I ever talked to Dr. Scott about, the night I first went to a DOE's meeting, I talked to you about it later that night, didn't carbonate at all. And then Dr. Scott got me into putting a temperature next to my bottles that I was bottling, so that I would know that they weren't too cold and it was warm enough for the yeast to do their work. So I started doing that.
Did it help?
It did help. Yeah, my next two batches were fine, and then I got a gusher.
Which is probably an infection.
Which, either that or I think.
Your final gravity plays an issue too.
Yeah, Morgan told me I probably bottled it before it was done fermenting, which I don't know. I waited quite a while, but who knows? I could have done so.
Sometimes it ferments more in the bottle than you thought, so that's either your final gravity is too high or you've got an infection with bacteria that will eat the things that the yeast won't.
Mm. And if you're a newbie out there, by the way, I didn't know what a gusher was until I asked somebody what the heck my bottles were doing. A gusher is when you're storing your 22-ounce bottles in the cabinet one day, and you go back the next day, and two of them have exploded.
No, those are bottle bombs.
And actually, before mine exploded, I opened them, and you pour them into a glass, and you just basically pour a glass of foam that never goes away. You know what I did? I refused to ditch the beer. Right? I think it's wrong, and I think it should be illegal to waste beer. So what I would do is before I wanted to drink it, I'd open it in the bottle and sit the bottle in my sink for about an hour before I was ready to drink it and let the carbonation, it literally would foam over just by opening the bottle for an hour.
That's a gusher.
It's definitely a gusher. And if you've ever had one of those and you didn't know what it was, that's a gusher. Yeah. And then it turned into, a couple days later, a bottle bomb where it actually blew up in luckily they were all in their nice little cardboard boxes and it didn't go all over, so I lucked out. Back to the toasting, we sort of answered this question. Let's just make sure we're clear. Someone wants to know if toasting Maris Otter or Golden Promise would be a good way to approximate brown malt. But I think we had said you'd want to use Maris Otter as a base malt, and then pick some other malts that you could go ahead and toast.
Get to the toasty part.
Yeah.
At that
what do you think about that, Jamil?
You can. I know. I think Ray Daniels has done a bunch of stuff on that, and he might have some instructions somewhere on the web or in designing great beers about toasting, malt to make your own brown malt.
Okay.
But if you're toasting your base malt,
yeah,
you're going to kill your enzymes, so you won't get to
right.
So don't toast the Maris Otter.
No, I think he's talking about roasting everything and getting brown malt and then using that as the base malt.
But you hold back a handful. And toss it in, it'll convert.
Okay, so you could do that as long as you're leaving some plain Maris Otter or Golden Promise
half
in there.
pound.
But it might be better if you use those as your base malts and add some other toasted grains,
character grains, right?
Or some chocolate, even something like that. It might be better to keep your base malts as they are. Okay. There we go. And then let me get this other question in here because I don't want to miss anybody. It's about gravities. What's the point of brewing low-gravity ales? Is a 1055 a low-gravity ale?
No.
It's not. What is it? What's the cutoff?
Well, it depends on style, I'm sure.
Well, it depends
Roughly.
on, what's rich, When are you a rich person? How much money do you need to have?
Okay.
So, it's the same thing on low gravity. For me, low gravity is, 1035 or less.
Yeah.
For, most brew pubs nowadays, you get below, like, Fred Eckert, he was saying, below 1055 is, a session beer.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
I'm with him.
Yeah, but, for me, that's still quite a bit. And if you go over to England and you get into the session beers there, you realize you can have such a, fantastic drinking experience with, a beer that's, 2 or 3% alcohol.
Right.
And, you can have so much, you can try 6 of them because,
flavors.
Yeah.
Good enough.
You try all the
alcohol's
ones.
low.
Just because it's a low gravity beer does not mean that it's going to be flavorless or bodiless.
Right.
Like that mild we just tasted, which
we
was
just
awesome.
tasted a mild, and it was just killer. And it's just the alcohol isn't there. You compensate it for it in other ways, but it doesn't. You don't have to brew a 1055 to have a good tasting beer, a good strong flavored beer.
Damn you, Dr. Scott.
Well, I don't brew
I
don't brew that low. But
Actually, that's part of the discussion with the North Carolina 6% beer thing that we talked about in the game earlier. The legislation is saying, you don't need to have a stronger beer. Anything over a 6% beer, and I don't agree with this, I'm just giving the argument. Anything over a 6% beer is allowing people to get drunk faster, and you can have great beer that's below 6%.
So they're gonna be serving them half glasses of wine then.
Yes.
Right.
Well,
you can have great beers that are 12%, and that's a different flavor characteristic.
Right.
And that's the other argument. That's the pop the top argument that's
alcohol
going on
has
right now.
Alcohol has a flavor profile to it,
and a feel, and
a feel, and everything. And I love Belgian beers, and you can tell when they hit the style and when it's not.
Right.
And he showed me here that you can have it 3%, 2% beer,
2.8,
and it's killer beer.
All right, if you're judging, what is a high gravity beer? Is there a number that you guys would use to say this is a high gravity beer? Because you got to have some parameters, right? In when you're judging,
right? But you don't. That's not one of the main things that you're doing your analysis on. I mean, is it to style? And there are styles that are kind of considered high gravity.
Okay.
A lot of the Belgian strongs, the barley wines, the wee heavy, the imperial stouts, imperial IPAs, things like that are considered high gravity.
Okay.
anything, but if you go to England and again, Old Peculiar is, like a 5% beer and it's, 10.57. Starting gravity. They consider that a big beer. Yeah. I was knocking back a couple of pints of that, and people looked at me like I was a madman. And like, how can you drink that much alcohol?
Yeah.
Well, it's a really good beer, but
I've never gotten that.
I think I need to go over there and put a bet down on the board. Yeah. I bet I can drink 3 of these, 4 of these.
Right. All right, you guys want to move on to the fourth and final?
Belgian strong ales.
Belgian strong. Is that what we're drinking here too?
This is Southern English brown.
That's still the brown.
This is the one that was first place in the final round of the Nationals.
How old is this beer?
Deserved it.
This is. I probably brewed this around November or so.
So it's still newer than what you could buy from England.
Yeah. I don't care for this that much. I thought my Northern English brown was flawless and was just a perfect example. And it didn't do anything in the first round. It did well in like the Reno competition, and I was talking with several people, and they thought it should have been the best of show there, but it didn't do anything in the first round of the Nationals.
Okay.
And I still think that's a far better beer than this one. But this one placed. This is a good beer. It's well done, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to place or it's going to place. There's a lot of factors in there.
And
Now, what about separating Northern versus Southern? What makes the difference? Southern is more high gravity? Or?
Yeah, well, it's going to have they're about the same gravity. It's going to have some more roasty character to it. It's going to be darker.
Okay.
The Northern is going to be more like a Newcastle, where it's lighter in color and not as roasty.
Okay.
So there's that roasty Northern Southern thing, pretty much. And
is it maltier or is it drier?
They're about the same.
How often, Jamil, are you sitting at home saying, that judge was a retard and my beer should have won?
I probably said that, a few times when I started out, but, now pretty much never, because I judge a lot.
Okay.
I go to a lot of competitions and I judge, so
sometimes you're the retard.
I've learned.
You took the words out of my mouth.
9 times out of 10, that's me. But I've learned a lot about, what goes on in competitions and how the judging happens, and all you're really looking for from the judge is, their analytical aspect of the beer.
Okay.
At that time, maybe they had a bad day, or maybe they had, onions for breakfast or whatever, and,
right.
It's going to affect them in some way. That's not right or wrong. That's just the condition of human beings when they try and use them as an analytical tool.
Yeah.
And as long as the judge is writing down what they perceived, I tasted, roast. I tasted, oranges. I tasted roses.
Okay.
And then they say that's 2-style or not. You cannot argue with that. That is what they perceived. You don't know what their taste buds are, so you have to, I did get a score sheet once where it had 1s all the way down, and it said too sweet. Those were the words on it.
And
I looked at this and I go, this judge is a retard. He wasn't BJCP, because somebody who's BJCP would not do something like that.
They give you a feedback. I've had that before too. Yeah. It's just like almost the same comment all the way down. I got nothing out of this judge. It was, I can't make a better beer out of your comments.
It's a total waste of money. Yeah. You send the beer in because you believe it's good. You pay, the entry fees because you believe it's good. And if you don't win,
you want to know why.
At least you want to know what you could do to make it better.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, the judge needs to provide that feedback. If they don't, take the score sheets, send them to the BJCP, and say, this is unacceptable.
That makes sense. Okay? That makes sense.
Well, and same note there is a lot of, novice judges. All their comments seem to be is negative. I taste astringency, I taste the blah, 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 all the way through, instead of the good parts, too. And
right.
I noticed that when you get to a more experienced judge, there's a nice balance between what they don't like, what they do like. Keep doing this, you really hit the money on this, but maybe back off with the hops a little bit.
And they'll score you low, too.
Right.
Yeah, but I think that's informative. Right. It helps you out.
You do.
Yeah. Right. As long as you know what's good and what's bad, you can start to and what specific things make it good or bad.
Right.
You can start to adjust, and with that information, you can make a better beer, and you can continue to improve your beer through that process. And then you change one thing, re-enter it, see what the next set of judges say, and go, okay, that was a little too much or not enough, or I've got it dialed in on that aspect now. Now I need to deal with the bittering, and you start going through that process. You can really, I started out, with entering a beer in the Maltose Falcons Mayfair, one beer, because it was my chocolate hazelnut porter, because I thought it was really good.
Right.
And I give it to people, and they're going, yeah, that's a great beer. That's a great beer. And I said, I think it's really good, and I'm not sure if people are telling me it's great beer because
they're your friends.
They're my friends, or they're I don't know. So I sent it off. Sure enough, I got like a third place, first competition, first beer I ever sent in. That's a big competition, and I was like, see, this was a good beer. But they had some really good comments as to why it wasn't the first place beer.
Right.
I told myself right then and there, okay, I'm going to rebrew this. I'm going to do what they're telling me, and I'm going to enter it again and see if I do better. Sure enough, I did that, entered it the next year, I got first place.
Nice.
And that kind of hooked me on the whole aspect of, these judges, these are people who are, without any preconceived notions. They're approaching your beer and they're trying to analyze it the best that they can.
Yeah.
And that's valuable.
And
that's
it's not
easy.
easy.
Money.
Well, the good judges are there to actually help you out. They're not to try to single who's first place, second place. They're judging for numbers, and they're trying to help you. And they know that's why you're in the competition, to help you brew a better beer. If they've got that kind of attitude, and you can tell by their comments if they've got that kind of attitude.
Yeah.
And those are the best ones.
Yeah.
All right.
And they're volunteering their time, too. So
yeah.
Let's do a quick Belgian Strong Ale review, and then take a break, and then we're going to get more into Jamil and his history.
Strong ales.
So let's do a Belgian Strong Ale. Let's talk about that style.
I want to know how Jamil gets his beers dry, or how do you get a low gravity in your Belgian Strong?
Hang on a second. Let's talk about the characteristics of a Belgian. So
Strong.
are you saying then that Belgian Strong Ales are supposed to be dry and low gravity? Give me some of the characteristics.
They start out very high gravity, and you want them to get to very low gravity.
Okay.
Right.
What are some other characteristics of a strong ale?
Aroma-wise or flavor-wise?
Yeah, sure. All of it.
The phenolics.
Warming alcohol.
Yeah.
Okay.
No legs on the glass.
Gotcha.
Pretty malty, no bitterness.
Is there a general color, or they can be any color?
Strong ales, triples are usually golden in color, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And dark strongs.
If you go to Belgium, though, and you talk to Belgian brewers about styles, they're going to look at you like you're a nutcase. They brew beer.
And they're happy with their beer.
Yeah. And it could be anything.
Oh, now that's definitely interesting when you're talking beer with people from other countries, and you're talking beer with homebrewers who are entering competitions and they want to know about the styles. You're right. I find more often as I talk to other people from other countries that they're, well, I don't know, is it good beer? Yes, it's good beer. Then it's beer. Stop asking me about what style it is. Right? It's
beer is beer.
I brewed it the way I know how to brew, and you liked it. What else do you want to know?
Leave me alone.
Yeah. But for competition's sake, there has to be these criteria, I suppose. Right. So,
well, it's interesting. Well, Jamil was talking about how he brewed a Belgian Golden Strong Ale, but it placed as a Belgian Blonde Ale
because it wasn't dry enough for a.
But you still had
strong.
The gravity of a strong, or?
Yeah, it was real close to the strong. It was a touch too much for the blonde.
Interesting.
But it didn't attenuate enough, so the alcohol was about right.
Did you enter the same beer as a triple?
Yes, I did.
Interesting. So
because
same
I
wasn't
sure which category was best. I only entered in two because I knew it wasn't a good strong golden.
Right.
It was not dry enough for that, and I was kind of like, well, it's kind of between a triple and a blonde. The judges will tell me which it is better as, and it'll go on as that. Well, lo and behold, it placed us both a triple and a blonde in the first round. It's just one of those things where you're counting on the judges to tell you what it's closer to, and it turned out it was just kind of a tweener. They had a hard time with it too. It was a very good beer, but it just was kind of tween the styles there, and they did what they could with it, and that's the way it goes. As far as you were asking about getting a dryness in the Belgians, you have to go like 30% corn sugar or table sugar. 30% sugar. Use a real low mash temp. In the 140s.
So corn sugar is more fermentable than an actual sugar from a mash.
You can you can
not
just
malt
use,
suger.
Just use sucrose.
Okay.
Because it's 100% fermentable.
C&H, big bag of C&H.
Yeah.
30%.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And then giant yeast pitches.
Mega.
And sometimes it takes a long time for those to ferment out properly, and you can let them ferment for 6 months, before they're really done.
I've got 2 conicals full of those.
That's the first time I ever heard corn sugar being used in Belgium. style beer for
beet
homebrew.
sugar, any sugar. They use whatever sugar is cheapest.
Right.
Okay.
That's what they do.
That in Belgium they actually add sugar back to their mash or to the boil.
Oh yeah, they
They use a lot of adjuncts. They use tons of adjunct.
I thought it was all mash based.
No.
There's a in Quaff in San Diego they have some of the best Belgian brewers I think in that homebrew club of any homebrew club. Those guys really Harold and Dave and all those guys. Bill, they're making some incredible Belgians down there. And then Peter from AleSmith, he's spun off and he was a Quaff member. Now he's brewing some really incredible commercial Belgian beers they're just amazing.
Trader. I'm just kidding. I respect that.
But,
that's awesome.
And he's still a great homebrewer at heart, and that type of stuff. They'll fly over to Belgium and they'll talk to the brewers and they'll do their research and they'll come back and they'll keep working it and get some really impressive beers out of there. Some of the best Belgians I've Tom Arthur down at.
Pizza Port.
He's brewing some incredible Belgians as well, and it's that whole area is very steeped in that style of beer.
Yeah.
Well, Vinny's doing that too in Russian River.
Yeah,
so.
I can't wait to get him in here and rack his brain on that one.
I'll make him bring some Belgians, huh?
Where do you ferment your Belgians at?
At home.
Well, I know.
What temperature? What place in the house?
What temperature? It depends on what I'm brewing, but. Just about everything, I'll keep it, below 70, upper 60s.
Oh, nice. I could do that.
But you don't go above 70 degrees for that?
Generally not.
No.
Why is that surprising?
I thought you wanted to do that.
You get such fusels from it, you know?
Okay.
So this is the brain zapping fusels, which, when you're doing high gravity beers and in competition, you want something that, a lot of times is really hotly alcoholic. And it's not a very good example of style, but the judges seem to, some judges, especially maybe late in the flight, they don't, perceive, just a gentle warming of alcohol anymore, and they think there's no alcohol in it. I can brew a 10% beer that you can't taste any alcohol, but after you've had a pint, it's hard to stand up. Well, that does horribly in competition. Because people are expecting alcohol, and they want a hot alcohol. They want to taste it. They want a lot of fusels and a real solventy, a real headache-inducing beer. And that's it's really disappointing. It's it's the same thing that has happened to Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
So
it's out of hand.
Someone in the
this whole brewery's out of order.
But it's not every judge, and it's it's some of the less experienced people sometimes.
Chat room wants to know if you secondary your Belgium for 6 months.
No, I don't secondary anything.
You don't?
No, I don't believe in it.
Tell me about that.
It's an extra step for infection.
But you're using a conical fermenter then?
I use conical for lagers, and that's only because of the initial pitch.
What about ales?
The trub. Ales I do in carboys.
And you just leave it on the trub there?
Yeah.
How long?
You got no problem with that?
No.
So tell me about why other folks, Dr. Scott included, will talk to me about trub and leaving my beer on trub.
It depends on how much trub you're carrying over from your boil kettle.
Okay.
And in most ales, you are going to be done within 14 days.
Right.
Even in a barley wine, but you can leave as long as that fermentation temperature. The yeast will sit there for a month, no problem.
Okay.
Nothing's going to go wrong for that.
If the temperature's right.
Yeah, okay. and the yeast was healthy.
Okay.
It'll sit there. It'll be just fine.
Okay.
There's no problem there. You can just leave it until it's done fermenting, and they'll clean up a lot of the acetaldehyde and a lot of the other DMS and other issues that'll be there.
Okay.
The yeast will clean up after itself if you let it.
Interesting.
If you take the beer off the yeast, and every time you transfer to another container, you're adding more contamination.
Yeah.
There's some bit of contamination every time. You're not sterilizing, you're sanitizing, and you're picking up something every time you do it.
Okay.
And the more contaminants you pick up, the less stable the beer will be. The less it's just not going to be as good a beer.
Is yeast the only trub? Some people say, I guess. Is it supposed to be trub?
Trub.
Because I've heard both. Trub.
Well, you're wrong then.
I'm not wrong. I heard them both.
Yeah, I've heard them both too. So.
Is it only yeast that you're worried about, or what about hop trub then?
No, I'm not worried about the yeast themselves. The yeast are fine. It's fatty acids, and it's the hops, and it's a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
The cold break and stuff.
But you're saying that for a regular 14-day fermentation, none of those things, the hops or the fatty acids,
and if you're pitching big, most ales are done, in 4 or 5 days. And what I do is I leave them 10 days. Okay, it's done in 4 days, but I let it sit there 10 days, and I just take my time getting to it.
And then what do you do? Keg it up?
Then I keg it up, and I'm ready to go.
Really?
As far as lagers go, though, that's where the conicals come into play.
Okay.
And one of the things that George Fix was big on was getting rid of the majority of the cold break and the trub out of the fermenter before you pitched and fermented your lagers. And it makes a big difference in the fruity esters and other components of the ferment. So I use the conical for my lagers. If I'm doing a 5.5 gallon batch, I'll brew 6.5 gallons of wort. Get that in the fermenter. I'll put it in, the refrigerator, or I'll get the cooling unit going, and I'll crash that down into the 40s. And that might take 8 to 12 hours.
Okay.
And then I'll just let it sit there. I have no pitching of yeast, nothing. All the cold break will settle out to the bottom, and once it's done, I'll draw a gallon off, and I toss that, and that's got all the cold break in it. And then I've got just clear wort ready to ferment. And then I'll pitch my yeast, oxygenate, and ferment my lagers then.
You'll pitch at 40 degrees?
Yeah, I pitch like 43, 44 degrees, and then I let it warm up from there. I never go above 50 degrees.
And where do you raise it to?
I'll get up into 47, 48.
Wow.
And then I don't do a diacetyl rest or any of that stuff that people do. It's not needed. If you pitch cold and you have healthy yeast and you let it have an appropriate amount of time, don't rush the yeast. Let them do what they're going to do. You only get these shorter times if you really pitch a lot of healthy yeast, and even then, they can use the time to clean up after themselves. You get a much cleaner beer if you just take your time. Don't go by. You get these beer instructions that say 7 days later do this,
right.
And that's nonsense. They don't know the condition of the yeast.
Right.
So only the yeast know when they're done. You just give them plenty of time; they'll finish up. They won't do anything worse.
Right.
Past that.
For a lager, like how long do you actually leave it on the primary or on the yeast bed for that matter?
I'll leave
that temperature.
I'll leave a lager sitting there 4 or 6 weeks.
Just on the primary. Not even touch it.
I don't do anything to it, and at 6 weeks, then I'm ready to keg it up. And sometimes I'll be busy, and it's 8 weeks or whatever, and I just wait, let it sit there, and then I run it out into the keg, and it's very good, very clean. No diacetyl, no DMS, and
just let it do its thing, and
exactly
it's done.
The yeast know exactly what they're doing if you give them the right environment.
Smart little buggers.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're talking to Jamil Zainasheff. We're going to finish up with a nice interview with him about how he got into it and why he's won so many damn competitions, and maybe try to strain his brain for some more good information. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Brewing Network.
The Brewing Network. Saving your life. One beer at a time.
All right, wake up, everybody. We're going to finish up the show here with Jamil, get some more information out of him.
Pick his brain a little bit more.
And then get the heck out of here.
And have a pint of beer.
But we got some stuff to give away, too. I want
do.
you guys to be aware of. We got...
we gave away the shirt.
Gave away the shirt. We got 2 more things to give away.
Oh, that's right.
What are you feeding this dog?
Stinks, huh?
Jeez.
Yeah, my dog stinks right now. I don't know. Sometimes she gets into
It's not good for beer aroma, I'll tell you.
Maybe it's Jamil. You don't know. Hasn't been stinky in the studio before Jamil came this week, has it?
What's going on here?
Sometimes she gets into things in the backyard, and man, does it go
like
right
your
through
hop
her.
plant?
Yeah, like my hops. She needs my hops.
I suppose she's eating a horse or something.
Yeah, she's not the best smelling dog in the world, but she's real cute, and she's nice.
She's happy and wants to lick you, and the next thing I know, it's like, damn, Jamil, you do that?
Hey, you can't have everything out of a dog, right? You either get a nice dog and a smelly dog, or a good smelling dog and a mean one. Like poodles. Poodles smell great, right? But they bite your ankles all day.
Not the big ones. They bite a little higher.
That's the only difference. All right. First competition I'm going to give out here. the first one we're going to do.
Let's do it.
And this one is going to be over the phone. All right.
You're killing me here.
And this one gets Jamil's beer. I told you I'm going to make you work for it. I'm going to play a little game, and I think we're going to play it every time Jamil comes in here. And he thinks, Captain Modest over there, Jamil, doesn't want to say that he's like, the most successful home brewer, not gone professional on the planet.
I have stats for later too.
All right, we're going to give that out. So here's the game, and I think we're going to play it every time. The game's called Stump Jamil.
Stump him.
He's a little stumpy here.
You should have seen his face.
So you got to call in. Yeah, he's like, oh, snap.
So first caller wins.
888-401-BEER. Call in with a question, and if you stump Jamil, I was thinking of his beer and his name at the same time. If you stump Jamil, you're the one who gets one of his beers. He's kind enough to say he'll send out a tasty one, and damn are they tasty. You're going to want to try to win that. Call in and stump Jamil. I don't care what the question is, but it's got to be about beer, right?
Is it vanilla porter?
Vanilla robust porter?
Oh, another one there. Another good one there, huh? Okay. We're drinking more of his good beer. Okay. So you're going to want to call in 888-401-BEER and try to stump Jamil. If you do, we'll send you one of his beers. How about that? Is that going to work?
What beer?
It's up to him. I don't know.
How many beers do you have bottled up in your cold blocks right now?
How many types? Let's not go with total bottles.
Yeah. Probably have about 70 different types, I guess, 60.
Holy cow.
Most of the style guides. A couple of them I've run out of. But I went through and brewed everything.
And
see, if I was a burglar... right, like a lot of guys would want to go down to Black Hawk or Beverly Hills or
right.
Some places in New York City. Those are the places they want to break into, right?
But where would you go?
I'd go to Jamil's house.
It's cold box, right?
Is there a lock on that box?
Yeah, I'm going.
Yes, there is.
I know his address.
I'm going straight to Jamil's if I was a burglar. That's all I have to say.
Do you have that retina recognition thing so you can get in?
Actually, a piece of wood kind of holds the door shut.
How many kegs of beer do you have? Or meads, for that matter, too?
I got about 20 gallons of meads. I don't brew a lot of meads. And then I've got maybe 20 kegs.
What do you have, a separate house for the stuff that you brew?
I built a little walk-in cooler.
Did you really?
Yeah. I converted a shed that I built into a walk-in cooler.
All right, I got to ask this.
It's on the internet. I've seen the pictures.
Is it really?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
All right, I have to ask this as part of the interview. I apologize. It's not a tough question, but it's a question that needs to be answered. Because here's the deal. How many batches have you brewed since you started brewing?
At least 7.
100 and...
At least.
I'm around just about 180 right now.
Okay. So you're brewing a heck of a lot.
And when did you start?
He's been brewing a long time, like 4 years.
Yeah, my wife gave me a Mr. Beer kit Christmas of 1999. So
does she regret that
about
day?
2000?
Yeah, my wife did. My wife did the same thing.
Really?
Christmas in '93, she gave me a beer kit.
Yeah.
She curses.
Yeah, I was going to say, she hates herself now.
She hates you now, too.
Come a long ways.
I can accept that. I can totally accept that. Okay, so we're talking 5 years here, 180 batches, roughly.
Uh-huh.
You got a big load of beer.
Big load.
In this walk-in cooler that you've built.
Big box of awards, too.
He's front-loaded.
What do you do, Jamil? Do you do anything else besides brew? What do you do?
I'm a software engineer.
You are?
Yeah.
How many hours
he
a day?
multitasks. He's told me about multitasking.
So you're engineering as you brew? I mean, something. How many hours a day are you software engineering?
If my boss is listening, let's see. At least 16.
Perfect.
No,
good answer.
I brew generally during football season.
Okay.
I love football, so I got the big screen set up so I can watch the big screen while I'm brewing.
Okay.
And I'll brew, a batch or 2 batches on every Sunday in football season, which is, it's 20 weeks now.
Yeah.
If you can brew 2 batches a week during football season, that's 40 batches.
Yeah, that's
If you do that for 5 years, that's 200 batches.
Okay.
So it's not a lot. And
so it's not as if you're not working.
Every once in a while, when work is slow, maybe I'll start things up at 6 in the morning. I'll get things going, and then I've got a B3 system with the auto sparge and all that, and I can answer email and just go out, every 15, 20 minutes and just take a look at it and make sure everything's fine, and you can get a batch done that way pretty easy.
So are you working from home too?
I work from home, most of the time.
Okay.
That's great.
So it's not like you won the lottery and you're just hanging out all day brewing beer. You're having to pull your weight.
No, he's multitasking. Yeah. He's a smart man.
Y'all know what
happened.
All
done.
Y'all know what happened when I multitasked.
Yeah,
your idea of multitasking is when you have more than 2 kinds of beer in front of you.
That's about right, actually. It's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
You and your Star San.
That's what I ended up with.
I got a question for Jamil.
Star San Pale.
What are your worst experiences while brewing a batch of beer? Like, what is the worst thing to ever happen to you when you brewed? Besides going back to work.
I once sucked a bunch of lactic acid into my mouth. 88% lactic. That hurt.
That hurt.
That did hurt.
You're clean though, right?
It's puckering.
It burns.
I've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Once.
Right.
What, you put the pipette to your mouth? Or?
Of course.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because that's how you suck it up to get enough in there. But
if you don't have a pipette pump or a bulb, or,
I couldn't find my bulb, and I go, what the hell do it the old way?
And you pull it off. Or
worse, you got it you got the end of the pipette in the vial, and you pull back a little bit, and
the pipette
comes out of it,
yeah.
and it sucks the air in the bottom of it, and it just shoots that lactic acid in your mouth.
Big slug of lactic.
And what happens then? Does it
sizzles in your mouth.
Yeah.
Does it really?
It's like
it burns.
Yeah, it's like,
but everything it burns comes back, I hope.
Yeah, it's not like that. It's more of a taste sensation.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It left a white mark across my tongue.
Oh,
man.
Wow.
It kills the
it does. It kills the epithelium on there.
Okay.
It grows back.
But it grows back. That's important. The tongue is a very virile little organism.
That must be the worst. I think.
It's very vascular.
Yes.
Otherwise, brewing's great. It's like a mini vacation for me, so I love brewing.
A little self-time.
Okay.
Hey, phone call.
All right, we got a Stump Jamil call coming in here, so I hope so.
I'm telling you, first caller is...
What color are my eyes when I'm brewing?
You win. Unless he guesses. Although he might guess right. Well, now, Jamil...
The problem is the prize you're giving away is no good, and so nobody's going to call.
Would you have the wrong number?
No, I don't know.
Oh, it's your bills. They want to collect on the bills.
Nobody wants my beer.
I would. You know what? I can't
That's why
wait.
I have so
I'll
much.
take it. Yeah, right.
Well, let's open up to the chat room.
I will. That's what I was going to say. We're going to go ahead and open it up to the chat room. If you can stump Jamil, you're getting the beer. So if you got any questions
out there
in the chat, I can't wait till the day like a nice telemarketer calls on our phone line unknowingly.
Yeah.
Because we're taking that call on the air, right? And you have to do that. It's sort of it's our little payback for you listeners at home to all those dirty little telemarketers.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I should go out and give out our number to telemarketers.
The people that call you, the people that call you back, they keep calling you back because they want to see how your service was.
Yeah,
it's like, it was fine.
Yeah,
I'm done.
I can't wait till we get them.
You got 5-10 minutes to take our survey? Not really.
I've got another question here.
Do it.
All right, Jamil. When is the last time you had a contaminated batch?
He's got a drink first.
The last time he was at your house.
Oh,
all right, Dom. Thanks.
Just kidding.
I know.
I was trying to brew some beer for a dive trip I go on, and I was just slamming out a couple of batches just to get them done, and didn't really care. And it was, it's also for like a 4th of July party, and everybody wanted beer from me, and I was just, I kind of jammed them out really quick, and I think one of them was kind of funky. And I
Jamil.
I don't. If you don't take the time and be real careful and pay attention to what you're doing and fermentation, then you're going to turn out garbage. It was okay, but it's nothing I would drink.
Have you had to throw out a batch? Like actually throw it away?
Oh, I throw out tons of batches.
Do you really?
If a beer sometimes is not, I'm trying, I live near Dave Sapsis, who is like, God's gift to brewing the classic American Pilsner, which is, a hoppy corn, Pilsner.
Okay.
Back when they brewed like pre-prohibition Pilsner, they call it.
Okay.
And he brews just the greatest ones in the world. And, I was trying to brew one, as good as his, and I brewed one, and it was really good, but it wasn't as good as what he was brewing, so I tossed it out, because I was just disappointed that I couldn't brew one that was, really great.
Justin's gonna cry now.
I'm devastated.
Just ship it over here.
I've poured out, probably, 50, 60 gallons of beer.
Wow. Okay. Let's stop this discussion right now.
They're making him angry.
Because everything up to this point's been just fine. You've been an awesome guest. So
I'm going to have to ask you to leave.
We're going to have to arrange an exchange program. And here's what I'm going to do.
You'll drive and get it.
I'll go get it. I'll bring you empty keg. You give me the keg that you filled up that you're about to throw away, right? I'll give you an empty. We'll just exchange kegs, right?
Yeah.
And then therefore there will be no more wasted beer. Okay.
Well, I do throw away quite a bit of beer now. Wow. That is great beer. It's just I don't want to bottle it, and I don't have people to drink it. So I usually
you're on, babe.
Bottle up, a case, and then
and you don't feel
it throws it at the wall.
I'll drink a little bit, and then I'll pour the rest out.
You do realize you're set, right?
You don't feel guilty about that?
No, he thinks he's a G-man from the 20s.
Yeah, I've only got so much storage space, and
okay. Can we come up with some sort of exchange program between us where we work this out and this doesn't have to happen so often?
Sure. It's like
I kind of consider myself like, those Sally Struthers commercials with the kids and they're in a lot of trouble.
They don't have enough beer.
Okay,
exactly.
That's what it is. Right. I'm the beer relation to that commercial.
Yeah, if I could get somebody to drink all
the
beer,
flies on him too.
You'd feel a lot better. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you,
Justin, you're set, by the way.
We'll drive up there.
Between these two guys?
Between the two of them. Yeah. And I'll buy the kegs and we'll do an exchange.
Yes.
And you always have it. You always got your keg back and your drain is happy.
Well, you can even borrow the kegs and just bring them back once they're empty.
Okay.
You don't even have to clean them.
Okay.
Wow.
There's a lot of jealous listeners out there right now because
you don't have to clean them. Damn.
Dr. Scott requires cleaning.
I would clean them again anyways.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Or
just rinse them out. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, just rinse them. That would do it.
We were set for beer.
Yeah.
We never have to brew again.
Yeah.
I'm not brewing ever again.
No, Jonathan's got the brewing bug. He wants to brew the best beer possible.
That's right. He does.
You kind of inspired that just a little bit. Just a little.
Okay, I'm going to make that arrangement. Well, I'm all excited. I can't even talk anymore.
He's all verklempt.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Stump.
I'll give you a topic.
I do have the stump Jamil question.
Okay. Stumpage.
Okay. It's from the chat room. What is the ideal temperature for White Labs 565 for a session?
565.
They knew they had to get specific.
It's a Belgian.
Yeah, I don't know because I don't believe the White Labs ideal temps are right.
Okay.
I mean, it may be for whatever fermentation they're doing, but I don't think that makes the ideal flavor.
Okay.
So I tend to go much cooler than what White Labs does. So they probably list something like 72 to 78 or something, or it's probably in the mid to low 70s that they list as ideal.
Okay, give that, and then go ahead and give yours. And I'm willing to accept if either one of those are right, then you got it. So what would you put it at? You're saying that you would do it from 72 to 78, or that's White Labs?
No, that's probably White Labs.
Okay, what would you do?
That's not the question.
Yeah, I would for my ideal fermentation, I would probably go, keep it around 68, maybe let it get up to 70, but try and keep it cooler. Don't build as big a fusel load.
Okay,
it's not a solventy.
Daniela, do you have the answer there in the chat room? No. You just gotta wait for it. There's a little delay.
Well, why don't you go on the website?
72 to 78.
Whitelabs.com.
Okay, we'll check it out.
I was there today. Today.
I wonder if they did stump Jamil.
Should I give
or 72 to 76?
Can I share some stats here?
Yeah, talk about Jamil's history.
All right, here's Jamil's history. Cal State Fair in California. 2001, 7 awards placed. 2002, 33 awards placed. Best of Show was a Weizenbach. And in 2003, 24 awards placed. Best of Show with a Bavarian Dunkel. That's a total of 64 awards in 3 years. You can check out calbrewers.com if you want to know more about that. Also, the World Cup, BayAreaMasters.org. Jamil, from 2001 through 2004, placed 46 times. And
46 times?
Yes. And
it's ridiculous.
That's more beers than you've had today.
When were you the California home brewer?
Barely, though.
2002 or 3? Or both?
2000. There was 2 years in a row.
He was,
because I did it 1 year, and then somebody said, "Oh, you just got lucky," so I went ahead and did it again.
Did it again, yeah.
Oh, you gotta love that.
And I'm going to come back to that. Oh, you got lucky part. So for 2 years in a row, he was California Home Brewer of the Year.
Okay.
Mayfair, MaltOseFalcons.com. You can check this out. 2001, he placed once. 2002, he had 15 awards, Best of Show with the Weizenbach, and a runner-up for his Abbey Double. And in 2003, he placed 17 times with the Best of Show for Schwarzbier. So total in 3-year period, he got 33 medals.
Wow.
So
3 years, 33 medals.
And then let's go to the big time, Nationals.
That's like
2003.
That's like 5 medals a year, right?
That's 5 medals. I don't know. 2003.
Come on, John.
You placed what? 2003. 1 medal, 2 medals at the Nationals.
Yeah, and the Nationals have gotten 12 so far.
Okay.
In the final round.
Final round. So, wow. Okay. So 2004, you had 6 medals placed. You're the Ninkasi, which is the highest you can get.
And now that means that you're the goddess of beer, right? Isn't that what it's named after?
Exactly, yes. The goddess of brewing.
Yeah. It is named after the goddess of brewing back in the mythology, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Sumerians
makes you the goddess of brewing.
Yes. 4,000 years ago.
Has a woman ever won the Ninkasi award?
Not yet.
I don't think so.
Sure to come, though.
I think that's wrong. You know? It's after the goddess of brewing. Don't me, John.
Okay.
Well, one thing I like to tell
the
people about...
goddesses always look better after a couple of beers.
Absolutely.
One thing I like to tell people about the competitions,
yeah.
Especially the bigger competitions like the Nationals, is it may not be perfect as far as how things are run, but it's fair for everybody that enters. So, you know, take it as it is, but at least it's fair, and that's one thing you can count on.
Everyone's getting judged the same way.
Exactly.
So.
And one thing I'd like to add when I was talking to Jamil before I started entering competitions was best beer on the table wins. And that's true. You know, I mean, if you make a good beer, the people that taste that beer are going to know that it's a good beer.
Right.
So, I mean, I think that plays a huge role in going on second rounds and stuff. So,
I got the answer to the Stump Jamil here.
What is the answer?
The optimal temperature, according to White Labs, is 68 to 75, which is a combination of both of Jamil's answers, because he said he would have done it 68 to 70, right? But that they would ask for more like 70 to
75.
They didn't stump him.
So you didn't stump Jamil.
I would. That's fine by me.
You want to send him your beer anyway?
Sure.
Yes, do it.
Oh, we got another question. Well, we have 2 things to give away, so that's all right.
All right.
We got another Stump Jamil question. That guy gets the beer. The one who just did the White Labs yeast question, you're getting Jamil's beer. So, Danielle, if you can get his information.
Is that a 5-gallon keg?
Whatever he wants to send.
No, that's your 5-gallon keg. He's not getting that.
Cut him off. Okay. In what language was the world's oldest recipe for beer?
Well, you figure it would be Sumerian or whatever, right? Isn't that the whole Ninkasi thing with the recipe?
Could be. Okay, so Jamil's answer is Sumerian. Daniela, is that in the chat room yet? Okay, they're going to go ahead and put it. I don't even know how to Google that.
The oldest proven records of brewing are about 6,000 years old and refer to the Sumerians.
Okay.
Between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. I Googled it.
No.
No, this is just a good question for you.
I want the recipe to that one.
What's
I love vanilla.
Yeah. And remind me when I get it.
Hey, you guys want to have a conversation off the show?
Can you stop drinking beer? All right,
I was not talking to you.
This is a beer show. Come on.
I was talking about beer.
You were talking about beer. Jamil, what's the extract you add to your chocolate hazelnut
porter?
Thank you.
Is that the Stump Jamil question?
No, this is just a good question that they want to know.
You can get the kit from More Beer, and that's the kit.
Does that mean that you've made it in the homebrew industry when your kit actually gets held at a
homebrew supply shop?
Homebrew supply
he's doing well for himself.
For the chocolate, I use Hershey's cocoa powder because it has the lowest fat content. For the hazelnut extract, it's whatever hazelnut extract you can find. Just use one that isn't really oily. But any of those work fine.
Okay.
Don't they use them a lot for liqueurs?
Yeah, exactly.
The websites, a lot of the homebrew websites, you can make liqueurs, and you brew it. Yeah, you can do it with vodkas and things, and they have essences that go with that, and a lot of homebrew shops will do that.
But you can get it from Beer More Beer, just the kit that they have.
The whole kit has it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Morebeer.com, you can get the kit. Can you give Daniela the microphone for a second, John? Because
Yes.
she's trying to tell me something about the questions. I'm just not getting it. What do you got, Daniela?
I just have the answer to the language question, and they're saying in the chat room it is Sumerian language, and they're actually quite impressed by you, Jamil.
Okay, so once again, Jamil was not stumped. See, it's a good game, Stump Jamil.
Yeah.
That's when you know you have a good game. If it's easy to stump the guy, it's not a good game, right? So that's why... You know, we might just call you up at random sometimes and see if we can do some more Stump Jamil.
Oh, just make sure I've had a few beers. So,
Okay.
3 in the morning. Hey, Jamil, we're going to stump you.
Hey, we're still on the air, Jamil. We got a question.
More chat questions?
Okay. No. That,
I have a question.
Actually,
for Jamil.
somebody from earlier wants to know if you dry hop, Jamil.
I have. It just depends on the style.
Okay.
And if I do, I use pellets for everything and just toss them in. And
just do it.
Then,
do you do it like a month before you bottle?
I've tried various things, and what I found works best is first get your beer in a keg, then just throw in your hops and taste it daily. And when it tastes just right, go ahead and transfer to another keg through a little jumper, and then you're done. And you can dial it in that way.
Okay.
How long does your dry hop usually last in that secondary keg that you transfer to?
It depends.
Average.
Let's
say a pale ale.
A month?
It
3, 4
depends
weeks?
On how fast they're drinking it. I've never really charted it out.
Okay.
I never really worried about it much. I've come across a much better way of getting hop character into beers.
Which is?
And dry hopping's great, but it gives a real resiny, which is fine if that's what you're shooting for. But a lot of times people don't like the resiny and they want more hop aroma and more hop flavor. And one of the tricks that good friend of mine taught me was to do all your hopping no earlier than 10 minutes before the end of the boil. So all your bittering, you get rid of that. You just shift it to 10 minutes, and you'll have to up the quantity of hops to get the bittering you want. But the bittering will be very smooth and mellow, and the hop flavor and aroma will just blast through. It'll be amazing hop aroma and flavor. And so instead of an ounce at 60 minutes, you're putting in 4 ounces at 10 minutes. And,
Wow.
And it's just incredible what you get from that.
Right.
And that's
awesome.
I've done an American brown that's just incredible that way with Amarillo, and it's just one of the greatest beers I think I've ever made. I've never entered it because I drank it all.
How do you know what ratio to use then? If you would put in an ounce, I know you said an ounce to 4. Is that what is it 1 ounce to 4 ounce?
No, I just go off of IBUs. So
okay,
I go into Pro Mash and look at it, and I want 30 IBUs. I just dial it to it says 60 minutes to 10 minutes or 5 minutes.
Okay,
and then I just keep upping the quantity until IBUs equals what IBUs
Nice.
I want, and it's pretty
Wow.
spot on. And the bittering again is the same. It's the same level of bittering to balance.
But it's nicer.
But it's a very mellow, easy drinking bitterness, and you do get some resiny character, but you get such a huge hop flavor and aroma out of them that it's stunning.
Okay.
Wow.
Now, and then you're still adding your regular, like say 1 minute aroma hops too?
Yeah,
or
you can add those too, and just load up.
Okay.
Load up in the last 10 minutes and don't put any other hops in, and you'd just be amazed at what comes out of it.
You want to try that?
Smooth.
All right, we got a last thing to finish here that I keep pushing off, but it's probably one of the best parts of our show, so I feel bad about it.
Which is what?
We're going to try Crotch Rot's beer. Daniela, could you help us out, please? It's in the kegerator behind the keg. There's 3 bottles.
I have a question for Jamil too.
And that's
Closing
fine.
question.
No, that's cool. Let's go ahead and ask questions. Crotch Rot, if you're there, we're going to try our first listener sent in beer. And by the way, send us beer if you want to. We're going to drink it on the air and talk to people about it and give you some good evaluation. With somebody like Jamil on the show, it's the perfect time to do it because he's a certified judge and he can really tell you what it's about.
Nationally ranked.
Any other time, John brews award-winning beers, and he can tell you what he thinks of it. And Dr. Scott's brewing some awesome stuff all the time. I'm drinking his Helles right now, which is beautiful.
You'll see a lot of Dr. Scott next year.
Anytime you send in some beers, you're going to get some good evaluation. And also, we like to drink it, so send it in if you want. But this is our very first listener sent in beer, which Danielle is getting ready for us right now. There's 2 different styles. One is a Newcastle clone, and the other one's an American Pale Ale. And I have his recipes here behind me, too, so if you guys want to know what they are, we can talk about them. John, what's your question for Jamil while we're waiting?
It's more of a closing question, but Jamil, what do you enjoy the most about homebrewing? Like, why do you do it? Why do you brew as much as you do? And what do you love the most about it?
It used to be, the brewing process itself. And, I still love that. That is, so huge for me. But the greatest thing is all the people involved in it. So, seeing something like what you guys are doing here, it's really great. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's something, obviously done out of a passion that you have, not, it'd be nice to make a few bucks, but I'm sure you don't plan on getting rich or even breaking even, but you're just doing it because...
I'm not getting paid for this?
Because you love it. And,
so even would be sweet.
The people at the conferences and, all the people that email me and the forums and stuff like that, it's just wonderful. What a loving, generous, sharing group of people.
Yeah.
And you don't find that a lot of places. Yeah. And, something about homebrewing and the kind of people that gravitate to it. There's a few jerks out there, but, by and large, just some wonderful people that are involved. And that's the best thing about homebrewing to me.
That's a good thing. And I agree. And let's pour this beer while we're talking about it.
What is
by the way.
Pour and talk at the same time,
what
right?
type of beer?
Not me.
This one had NS
That's
on
the
top.
Newcastle.
Newcastle. Okay.
Yeah. And that's why I say...
It's a big beer. Thanks, Crotch. It's a big one.
That's why I say he actually wrote it down as a Newcastle Stout. Yeah. It says it's like Newcastle Stout is how he wrote it. But Newcastle's a brown unless he's tried a beer that we haven't. Definitely looking stouty. Okay, Crotchrot, we're officially smelling and tasting your Newcastle Stout.
Smell it. Smell it.
Hence the silence. Hope that was your mouth, Dr. Scott.
It wasn't even my mouth.
Okay.
It's too cold. I'm going to warm it up.
I'm thinking it's a cross between a brown and a stout is my first impression. Is that you can get a little Newcastle brown, and I could get a little stout out of it. I'm not positive there's a Newcastle Stout. Maybe I should look it up so I'm not saying anything I don't know about here. Let me check for you.
No, I know Newcastle brews 2 different beers.
They do, so maybe they do.
And then they mix them, and one of them you can't even get. So
maybe this is the one you can't get. What do you guys think? Come on, you don't have to be silent. I'll tell you this right now. He sent me a letter. He wants everyone to be honest and give a good criticism of his beer. So don't be afraid to say what you think about his beer. Go ahead, Jamil.
It's a little darker than a Newcastle, but it's within the range of a northern English brown, and it's got a nice creamy body to it, nice caramel character. It's a beautiful, beautiful beer. Nice, tiny, tight little head on it. Good balance between the hop and the malt. Real good. There's one bit of like a phenolic medicinal I'm picking up in there, which might be either a sanitizer, like if he's using bleach, might be affecting it, or a wild yeast. But other than that, it's a beautiful beer. I really enjoy that.
Yeah, well, that's the first thing I get is the mouth feels cool. It fills my palate really well. It's creamy. It's nice.
Nice.
2 things is it's the phenolic thing, and it's either going to be sanitation. Well, maybe not. Or if you're using bleach, like you said, you didn't rinse it all off. Just switch to Star San.
Hang on 1 second, guys. Christian.
Hello.
Hey, you want us to use crotch rod or is Christian fine?
It doesn't matter.
All right. How you doing, Christian?
Hello.
Thanks, Clay.
I forgot to email you back that I got your beer.
That's okay.
I like your posts and stuff.
There is no such thing as a Newcastle Stout. It was one of those things where I liked the brown and I liked the stout, and I figured, the recipes for both are pretty close, and I wanted to pick out the best from both and make a hybrid, and that's what I did, and that's what you got.
Okay, so you took a stout style, but the Newcastle brown style as well.
I think you're on the right track. I'd like you to brew it again and work on maybe the sanitation or on the rinsing. Are you using bleach still?
Yes, I am.
Change to something else, either iodophor,
Star San,
or Star San's the killer thing because you really just let it drip out, and if you leave a little in there, it won't matter. Where if you're using bleach, you get a little bit left over, and it turns into phenolics, and you get this Band-Aid kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. I get a metallic kind of.
Yeah,
but the beer itself,
I think
besides that, is fabulous. You got a nice creamy mouthfeel, good,
right.
A little roasty, nice malt, good balance of hops.
I think if you clean this
up, a
little
medicinal there
with your processes, brew this recipe again. I think you're on a really killer avenue here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
but just watch change over from bleach.
Okay.
Don't do that again. I mean, it's clear. It's nice.
Yeah, it is really clear.
And thanks for sending
Christian.
22 ounces. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, you're a stud, Christian.
But
great guy. Dude.
He sent us 3 beers. One's 22 ounce, and then
it's all good.
Nice labels too.
Don't abandon this one at all. Just brew it again and send it.
Those are awesome.
Your labels are awesome, by the way, Christian.
Yeah, I've seen you on the forum, so.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's
cheers to Christian, by the way.
I think you do have a good idea going to go from the Guinness to the brown, like a stout and a brown, all in the same kind of an ale. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it kind of goes down like a brown, but it finishes like an ale. You have to, it finishes somewhat like a stout. You have to search for the stout.
I agree, though.
There, if you look for it, it's there.
I agree with you. That's where I got it's kind of a brown, kind of a stout. You're right. When you're first tasting, when it's in your mouth, you're tasting brown, and a little bit after, you're a little stouty. I like that.
Tasting brown.
All right, they just poured your pale too, so we're gonna check that out right now. Hang on, I gotta finish my.
We're smelling it.
Gotta finish the stout here first. Hang on. You're awesome.
It's smooth,
and don't take any of this bad. We still like you.
Yes.
No, that's cool. No, that's why I sent it, because I wanted guys that are better than me to evaluate it.
Okay, cool. Because
I'm not sure we're better than you.
Not better than you.
No, I mean, I have absolutely no problem. I'm not a professional brewer, and I wanted guys that are either in the business of it or guys that are winning awards at it to critique it, because I didn't want guys that just drink Budweiser and Coors.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Christian.
It's okay or whatever.
Right.
I wanted guys that really are in the business and know the individual hops and the individual
and that's gonna
yeast
help.
and
you're going to
really break it down.
You're going to continue to make great beer because of that, because you want to learn what you're doing wrong or how can you make your beer better, which is important to become a better brewer.
Right.
And don't look for commercial guys to, unless they were a home brewer and they still home brew. They got a lot of constraints on them. Look for other home brewers to help you. You'll get a lot more feedback from them.
Like us.
Okay.
Yeah, like us.
But since you want a good, credible evaluation of your beer, I'm going to go ahead and let these guys talk about your pale ale now.
Okay.
So I've had some.
Well, do you tell me about your pale ale first? What were you looking for to get out of this pale ale?
I wanted something that had a little bit of a grainy character to it.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I really wish I would have gotten more out of that was bigger aroma.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting. It's just the aroma and the flavor hops.
Right.
It could be more. It's not a bad beer at all.
Yeah,
I don't get the phenolics.
Overall, it was somewhat balanced, but the flavor I think on it is somewhat balanced. But the aroma I thought should have been a lot more popping in your face.
Yeah. Where do you live?
In Tampa.
Okay.
It's definitely smooth. It goes down.
It's very smooth.
Yeah. You going to be at the Homebrewers Conference next year?
Yes, I am. I'm going
I think I didn't want to go to Baltimore, but I think I'll go to Tampa.
One of the things we were just talking about was moving your hops towards the last 10 minutes. If you really want to get a big hop aroma and flavor, that'll definitely do it. This is also a really well brewed beer. As far as it's got a nice body to it. It's a little too caramelly, I think, for a pale ale.
Okay.
I would back off just a touch. And if you want more biscuity, go with some some Victory or some one of those it's aromatic. Go with some of those character grains. Touch a half pound. And that'll make an effect on the biscuity.
I actually just brewed this one last weekend, and
wow,
rebrewed it anyways.
Okay.
Okay. I was gonna say, wow, you're fast.
No, I just redid it, and for this next one, I've got actually 6 ounces of dry hops going into this one instead of the two.
The two.
And
for the one that you guys have in your hand.
What size batch?
Say
10
gallon, yeah.
10 gallon batch?
I got his recipe here. I'll let you guys look at it.
Well, with the dry hops, that's going to help a lot with the aroma, but I'd like to get more flavor out of it too.
Okay.
And I like Jamil's idea of just everything in the last 10 minutes.
Now, would you say just do with the say in the last 10 minutes, or would you request maybe doing it at flame out and just kind of whirlpool it?
You can do that too.
Because actually, I don't cool down fast. I actually cool down somewhat slow. I usually do like a whirlpool and just let it sit at that temp for about 10 minutes, and then I start cooling.
Okay.
I would, you know, the thing though about moving the bittering hops. I'm talking about, you know, no bittering hops. The bittering goes to 10 minutes, so you need to boil those somewhat.
Yeah, I know.
You have to boil to get any bitterness out of it.
But you can move things to the whirlpool.
But you were saying flavor, so I wouldn't get any flavor whatsoever.
No, you will.
It's a bizarre thing. I used to believe all this stuff about, you know, you won't get any aroma if, you know, it's not in the last second of the boil, or if you don't dry hop or whatever. And I found at 10 minutes you get a ton of aroma. You know, you get a ton of flavor, you get a ton of aroma. You know, just 10 minutes and 1 minute, just load up until it hurts, and you get just a tremendous aroma and flavor out of it.
I'm really stoked about that idea.
No, I think you got a really good base here, and if you can tweak some things to get what you want to get out of it, or more aroma, more pop from it, a little less caramel.
Yeah.
Well, you might shift, instead of 2 pounds of Crystal 60, switch to maybe a pound of Crystal 40 and a pound of Crystal 60.
Okay.
You split that way, and that might be just a ticket. And it'll give it a kind of a broader range of crystal across there.
Okay. Awesome.
And if you want more biscuity, again, one of those character malts.
Yeah.
I've brewed a pale ale similar to this, actually, Christian.
Are you talking again?
Yeah. Mine was a little sweeter even than yours. And I used Amarillo at the end, so I got a better aroma out of it.
Uh-huh.
But it wasn't dissimilar to this. I actually had some of the same things you guys are saying I felt about mine. There was not enough aroma, not enough flavor, a little too malty, and it was very similar to this, actually, Christian.
Okay.
I think the main difference that I had Amarillo, so you could definitely taste the hops at the end a bit better. I'm surprised when I was reading your recipe there that you dry hopped. Actually,
yes, I did.
To me, that's because I just at the end I just don't taste the hops.
You don't get that character, yeah.
Yeah, so I was a bit surprised. But you did the 2 ounces, 1 ounce. You used a lot of different hops there too. Would you have 4 different on there? I can't see it right now.
No, there was quite a few different hops that went into the recipe, but there was only 2 that went into the dry hop.
Okay.
Did you dry hop with whole or pellets?
Pellets.
But I'll tell you, I got to commend you for taking the effort to send your beer out and getting on the phone.
You're the first, too.
And to discuss this on a broadcast that a lot of other people are hearing. I mean, that it shows you really interested in brewing the best beer possible. And
without a doubt.
And you keep that attitude going, and keep trying to get information from people on how to brew. And this is what Jonathan did. And Jonathan's brewing some spectacular beer now, and a couple of years ago he was brewing some pretty cheesy beer. But he had the mindset of,
but he had a smile on his face.
I'm going to keep trying, and I'm going to follow what these people are telling me. I'm going to give it a try and see if it turns out. And sure enough, it did. And he's brewing just spectacular beer. And I think you're on that same path, and you've got a lot of passion, obviously, to go through, the lengths you've gone to get this analysis of your beer. So that's really great.
We'll see you next year, Christian.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a little
So
complicated.
you guys are going to Orlando too?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be there.
We'll see you there.
Awesome.
Are you going, John?
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to go.
When is this?
June.
I think you need to do a remote from the conference.
That'd be great.
We should.
You do a remote.
We need a remote, sure.
We could, by next year? Oh yeah, we'll be making so much money, we can totally go to a remote.
Yeah, it's only about an hour and a half from my house, so yeah, I'm going.
Nice, okay.
In fact, what was funny was I downloaded a video of the conference that happened this year, and I had the video loaded up in, media player or whatever, and I watched it and I went to bed, and my wife works the night shift, and when she came home the next morning, I woke up. She goes, "Well, I guess I know where I'm going next year." And I'm like, "You know it, baby."
Smart woman.
That's awesome.
At least she knows. Well, Christian, I'll tell you, we're gonna finish your beer. Make no mistake about it. We're gonna
Wait,
drink
you
it.
said there's 3. I only got 2.
Well, no, there's 2. He sent us 2 12-ounces of the pale ale,
right.
and then the tall of the stout. Which we got half the stout here, and we're going to finish that. And then we got another bottle of the pale to finish, too.
Yeah.
Christian, you're awesome, as usual.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for being the first
Cheers
to send
you,
in your beer and let us evaluate it on the air.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
And it's a good example for the rest of you at home. Send it in to us if you want some good input. We've always got people in here who have different perspectives than ourselves, so you're going to get a wide range of views and always quality evaluations.
Yeah, next
aside
week
from what I have to say.
We have
about
Roger Davis from Drake's Brewing Company. So
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Send an IPA in.
So Christian, dude, thanks.
No, thank you. I mean, that's really exactly what I wanted. I really wanted honest criticism and feedback on it because I knew it needed work, and that it's just awesome. It's great.
Okay. Well, I'll tell
you. Don't give up on these beers.
Not at all.
No. Those are
so
2
close.
of the ones that I'm really working on. I mean, they're my own recipes, so there's something that I really want to critique back on.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. How long you been brewing, Christian?
I've been brewing for about 2.5, 3 years.
Wow.
Okay. All right.
He's gonna do fine.
Yeah, you can do all right.
You make great beer already.
Well, I think we should see you walking up there for the Nationals next time, maybe, huh?
Yeah, right.
You never know, Chris.
That's right.
You never know.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I was going to do a little contest about anybody in the chat room who's the farthest east gets our $20 gift certificate.
East up to the Greenwich Mean Line?
No, in our country, because I don't know. Unless, no, too late. I already started this. And you're pretty much the farthest east in Florida. Plus, you had the balls to send us your beer and let us evaluate it on the air. So, Christian, you're getting $20 again to spend at More Beer. More Beer, whatever.
I'll take it.
All right, John, you probably already have that address, too. We're going to give you another $20 gift certificate. You deserve it, dude. You're awesome.
Does. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, you guys have a good night. I'll be in the chat room.
All right, thanks for all your help. We'll see you later.
See you, Christian.
Later.
All right, cool.
What a cool guy.
Yeah, he's always cool. It's been cool since the beginning. All right.
There's a lot of people like that in the homebrewing community, too, so, I mean...
That's important. Sometimes you only hear the guys that aren't so cool. And that's not fun.
Well, everybody focuses on the bad, and there's always one bad seed, but most of them are like Christian. So,
all right, let's wrap it up. It's been a long show, guys. We're gonna take off, and we're gonna finish.
Ice Block.
We're gonna finish Christian's beer and whatever else we got going around here. We're gonna have a good time. For those of you who have to go to work in the morning, try to wake up and maybe drink a glass of water before you go to bed. Sorry to keep you up so late.
Thank you, Jamil.
East Coast
yes,
anyway.
Thank you, Jamil.
Yeah. Jamil, you are awesome, and please,
very informative.
Would you like to come back again sometime?
Sure, this has been great. My pleasure, and anything I can do to help, just let me know. I think this is a great effort.
I always like to ask that question again when we're off the air, because sometimes people just want to be nice. And Jamil might tell us off the air, actually,
he's a pretty humble guy.
You guys are douchebags.
But there's lots of free beer around here, so
and that's good enough.
Well worthwhile.
No, we really appreciate you coming in, and what great information. I've taken away a couple awesome things from you, Jamil, and I appreciate that personally.
I've learned a ton already.
I have too. Every time I talk to him, he throws something else out
I think
at
that's
me.
a good goal for the show. If we can learn, why can't others learn? I've learned 3 things that I'm going to apply to my brewing process for the next year. So
yeah, you're right. Well, you're welcome anytime, Jamil. You're an awesome home brewer. I think everybody knows that, and somebody from the chat room, Danielle, you got that information right? Is going to get a beer of yours, and they're going to realize you're an awesome home brewer. And please come back and join us anytime. Maybe we'll give you a call so you don't have to drive down here. But if you ever just want to call us up and ask if you can come on the show, you're welcome anytime because we really appreciate your help.
Great, thank you.
Cool. All right, next week we're looking at Drake's Brewery, which is out of San Leandro, California, I think.
Roger Davis, the brewer.
Okay. They're going to come in here and talk about their microbrew. Good beer out of them. I've drank a few of theirs.
I believe their IPA got a gold at the GABF.
Okay.
So.
All right.
So we have a topic for other stuff?
The full topic we don't know, but here's what we decided, and this is all wishful thinking as it has been. Because we're supposed to have a website by tomorrow.
Cool.
I might actually be able to post to the people who like our website what the heck we're doing around here by tomorrow, which to me is just as exciting, if not more, as it is to you listeners at home. Yeah. I'm telling you, I know that it looks like we've not done the website and not put forth what we're trying to get to you. It's not the case. We just run into a lot of roadblocks.
Yeah.
And I am really, really excited to get a website that I can update. I can talk to you guys at home. I can tell you what's happening on the radio.
On a weekly basis.
On a daily basis. Daily basis.
It's a web. It needs to be daily.
Absolutely.
Right.
I am going to be in here every day letting you guys know what's happening, post about the shows, post about our upcoming guests, get the archives out there for you. We're really working on it. I'm excited about it. So we're going to talk to the guys tonight, hopefully, see if we get it going, and tomorrow it might be up. If so, we'll post what next week's discussion is about along with Drake's Brewery. So
hey, everybody have a great 4th, and don't drink too much macro brew.
And if you do go out to see the fireworks and you are drinking, then get someone to drive you home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unless you're in Montana, then you're fine.
Good show.
All right, those of you who listen every week, you know what's coming. Those of you who haven't, this is a song sent in by a home brewer just like yourselves, and he did a damn good job on it, and we've made it our own by his permission, of course.
Yep.
So enjoy. We'll see you next week. It's the Brewing Network. Thanks, Jamil. We'll see you guys.
Pale ale is a friend of mine, and I sure like good barley wine. Chocolate porter, cherry stout, don't you know what I am talking about? Don't you give me that American crude, boy, I want a real homebrew. Homebrew, don't you really love it? Homebrew, can't get enough of it. Homebrew, it blows my mind. I love homebrew all the time. Yeah, I think I have me, well, I have the one right now. Brown, they should know how to get down. Double and triple on my best friend. I think I'll have them all over again. But don't you give me that American crude, boy, I want a real homebrew. Homebrew, don't you really love that homebrew? Can't get enough of it. Homebrew, it blows my mind. I love homebrew all of the time. Yeah, I think I'll have me, well, I'll have me one right now. Give me a wheat beer on a hot summer day. A bark will do me when the skies are gray. I'll take a Belgian brew anytime, and the women sings and lambic fine. But don't you give me that American crude, boys, I want a real homebrew. Homebrew, don't you really love that homebrew? Can't get enough of it. Homebrew, it blows my mind. I love homebrew all of the time. Yeah, I think I'll have me, well, I'm the one right now. Chocolate porter, cherry stout, yeah, you know what I am talking about. But don't you give me that American crude, boys, I want a real homebrew. Homebrew, don't you really love that homebrew? Can't get enough of it. Homebrew, it blows my mind. I love homebrew all the time. Yeah, I think I have that, well, I'm the one right now.